UML and RSP release election manifestos, focus on governance, development and systemic reforms ahead of House elections. Nepal marks 76th Democracy Day, reflecting on historical struggles for freedom, good governance and unity. Acting Chief Election Commissioner of Nepal urges media to avoid opinion polls during election period. At least 7 election police officers injured in a van accident in Jumla of Nepal. Gas explosion in Karachi apartment in Pakistan kills at least 16 people, several others injured. And ICC T20 World Cup Super 8 match schedule announced, New Zealand to face Pakistan in the opening clash. Hello there, I'm Shivani Thapa Bosnath with you. Welcome to NTV World Primetime News. We're coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Elsewhere, it's 1:15 p.m. in London, 10:15 p.m. in Tokyo, and just after midnight in Sydney. The news details now. As the election fervour intensifies across Nepal, parties are setting their agendas for the upcoming House of Representatives elections. Communist Party of Nepal, UML, has officially released its manifesto for the upcoming House of Representatives election, with Chairman KP Sharma Oli outlining the party's vision at the Country First debate program. The manifesto prioritizes good governance, development, employment and social justice, areas that the party believes were left incomplete during its previous time in power. With the slogan "Prosperous Nepal, Happy Nepali, National Aspirations are our destination," the UML aims for a victory to carry forward these very unfinished tasks. The manifesto includes 11 immediate tasks, 5 core objectives and 25 resolutions. Oli reaffirmed the UML's commitment to national sovereignty and independence, emphasizing a pragmatic approach without resorting to populism. Likewise, Rashtriya Swatantra Party has unveiled its election manifesto titled Commitment Letter 2082 BS ahead of the upcoming House of Representatives elections scheduled for 5th of March. The manifesto, made at a public gathering in Surkhet of Karnali province. The party has outlined wide-ranging policy changes covering state restructuring, the economy, digital transformation, energy, education, health, diplomacy and governance. It also lists what it calls 100 foundations for policy departure aimed at systemic reform. The party has pledged full implementation of an investigative report related to the so-called Gen Z movement held in late September 2025. Among key proposals are initiating a national debate on constitutional amendments, including a directly elected executive system, a fully proportional parliamentary model, barring lawmakers from serving as ministers, and establishing non-partisan local governments. The manifesto also promises asset investigations of public officials, confiscation of illegal wealth, and reforms to depoliticize the civil service. Today marks National Democracy Day in Nepal. It is an annual celebration marked on Fagun 7 as per the Nepali calendar to honor the historic struggle for human rights, civil freedom and the sovereignty of the people. This day commemorates the 1950 revolution, a pivotal movement that ended the autocratic Rana regime and laid the foundation for Nepal's Federal Democratic Republic. Democracy Day commemorates the sacrifices of the martyrs and the continued pursuit of justice and equality as enshrined in Nepal's constitution. The main ceremony was held at the Nepal Army Pavilion in Turikhel of Kathmandu, the federal capital, attended by President Ramchandra Paudel, Vice President Ram Sahai Prasad Yadav, Prime Minister Sushila Karki and other high-ranking officials. Prime Minister Sushila Karki on the occasion emphasized that the 2007 Bikram Sambat revolution marked not just a regime change, but the empowerment of the Nepali people as citizens, underscoring the importance of democracy as more than just a governance form, but a symbol of the people's rights and aspirations. The 76th Democracy Day celebrations in Nepal reverberated the call for good governance and fair elections. The regular Democracy Day function at the Nepal Army Pavilion in Turikhel saw speakers emphasizing the shift from subjects to citizens as the cornerstone of contemporary governance. President Ramchandra Paudel and Prime Minister Sushila Karki both voiced a strong plea for national unity to ensure the success of the March 5 elections. Sabika Shrestha brings you more.
Nepal vibrantly celebrated its 76th National Democracy Day Thursday, honoring the historic 1951 revolution that ended a century of autocratic Rana autocracy. The festivities culminated in a grand ceremony at the Army Pavilion Turikhel, where the nation's leadership reflected on the journey from subjects to citizens as the country looks forward to the upcoming House of Representatives election. The main ceremony featured a distinguished assembly including President Ramchandra Paudel, Vice President Ram Sahib Prasad Yadav and Prime Minister Sushila Karki. In his keynote address, President Ramchandra Paudel emphasized that democracy is the bedrock of Nepal's sovereignty. Prime Minister Sushila Karki, the first woman to lead the country, delivered a poignant speech linking the ideals of 1951 to the modern aspirations of the youth.
प्रत्येक शासकले ख्याल राख्नु हाम्रा युवा अभाव सहन तयार छन् तर अन्याय अपमान विभेद र तिरस्कार सहन तयार छैनन्। भोलि आउने शासकहरूले युवालाई अपमान र तिरस्कार गरिरहने भने फेरि पनि विद्रोह हुनेछ। नेपालको निर्वाचन इतिहासमा विषममा 2015 साल फागुन 7 गतेदेखि पहिलो प्रजातान्त्रिक निर्वाचन सुरुवात भएको ऐतिहासिक तथ्य हामीमा छ। तसर्थ आज प्रजातन्त्र दिवस मात्र होइन, निर्वाचन पनि दिवस पनि हो। संयोगवश यस वर्ष पनि यसै फागुन महिनाको 21 गते प्रतिनिधि सभा सदस्य निर्वाचन हुन गइरहेको छ। यस निर्वाचनलाई स्वच्छ, निष्पक्ष, शान्तिपूर्ण र भयमुक्त वातावरणमा सम्पन्न गरी मुलुकलाई दिगो लोकतान्त्रिक स्थायित्वको नयाँ युगको ढोका उगार्ने प्रयत्नमा हामीले पुरै ऊर्जा लगाएका छौं।
The event showcased the nation's cultural and security prowess with march past by the Nepali Army, Nepal Police and Armed Police Force alongside vibrant cultural tableaus from the municipalities of the Kathmandu Valley. As the nation observes the dual significance of National Democracy Day and its democratic foundations, the proceedings at Turikhel underscored a definitive mandate. The legacy of the 1951-2007 BS revolution is preserved not merely through ceremonial observance, but through a steadfast commitment to a transparent and inclusive democratic framework. Sabika Shrestha reporting for NTV World.
Away from the Democracy Day celebrations, Nepal's Ministry of Finance has released a draft bill proposing amendments to the Nepal Rashtra Bank Act 2002 aimed at revising the legal framework governing the country's central bank. The act has already been amended 9 times. Officials say the latest changes seek to make decision-making at Nepal Rashtra Bank more transparent, accountable and professional. The current fiscal year's budget had also pledged timely revisions to the law. According to the ministry, the amendments would strengthen the legal basis for financial stability, inflation control, expanded banking access and regulation of digital financial services. The draft also prioritizes risk-based supervision, alignment with Nepal's federal structure and modernization of balance sheet and reporting systems in line with international standards. It further proposes legal recognition of digital banks operating without physical branches, as well as the inclusion of digital or virtual currency within the definition of money. And we take a short break now. When we return, we'll have updates on the Election Commission's latest directives, preparations for the upcoming the elections and more. Do stay with us. Back here with NTV World Primetime News. Acting Chief Election Commissioner Ram Prasad Bhandari has urged media organizations to refrain from conducting or publishing any opinion polls during the election period. Speaking at a program organized by the Election Commission to mark the 10th election day, Bhandari said election laws prohibit vote surveys during this time and warned that action would be taken against violators. Bhandari cautioned both voters and media outlets about the risk of misinformation during elections, noting that false reports can be presented as facts and vice versa. Bhandari called on voters to choose their representatives independently without any pressure or influence. Bhandari also said the Commission is preparing to hold meetings to finalize election security policies and strategies. Officials at district level have been instructed to take action against those who breach the code of conduct, while volunteers, election staff and security personnel have been urged to remain vigilant and carry out their duties with high morale. Likewise, preparations are intensifying in Kabri district of Nepal for the upcoming House of Representatives elections, which is scheduled for March 5th. According to Chief Election Officer Prem Prasad Nyopane, all essential materials including ballot boxes, ballot papers, official seals, forms and security supplies as well as other equipments have been securely stored and are being readied for timely dispatch to the polling stations. Voting will take place across 400 polling centers in the district. Authorities have mobilized some 2,400 personnel to conduct the election, with final name lists prepared and required training already completed. Voter education programs are also underway at the local level, informing the people or the general public about voting procedures, proper use of ballot papers, the importance of participation and the election code of conduct. Election officials have said coordination with security agencies and local authorities is ongoing to ensure the vote is conducted in a free, fair and orderly manner, with all mechanisms mobilized to complete the process on schedule. Meanwhile, 7 election police officers were injured in a van accident in Jumla district of Nepal when their vehicle with the registration number 1J818 collided while travelling from Jumla Bazar to Nagam. The incident occurred in Tatopani Rural Municipality, Ward number 6, Dhaula Pani today. All 7 officers were rushed to the Karnali Institute of Health Sciences for treatment. According to Robin Babu Regmi, the Chief of District Headquarters Office in Jumla, 2 of the injured officers are in serious condition. Authorities are investigating the cause of the incident. The newly operational Tomghas Burtibang 132 kilovolt double-circuit transmission line is set to stabilize the power grid in Nepal's western hilly districts of Gulmi and Baglung. This 5 billion rupee project will end chronic low-voltage issues and provide reliable electricity to some 61,000 households in Gulmi, with power now reaching all 12 local levels in the district. The line is part of the larger Burtibang Paudi Amrai Tomghas Sandi Kharka Gorusinge 132 kilovolt transmission line project, which integrates these very districts into the national grid. The Nepal Electricity Authority NEA officials highlighted that the upgraded infrastructure will support both domestic consumers and small to large-scale industries. The completion of this project includes 5 new substations, reducing voltage drops and outages that were common in the region's remote areas. Cardamom, worth approximately about $59.18 million, has been exported through the Mechi Customs Office in eastern Nepal by the month of mid-February 2026. This amount is higher than the total exports of the entire previous fiscal year. With approximately $9.76 million worth of cardamom exported in the month of mid-February alone, cardamom exports this year have increased by nearly 60% compared to the same period last year. According to the Mechi Customs Office, only around 3,022 metric tons of cardamom worth about $36.98 million had been exported by the month of Magh in the last fiscal year. This year, some 4,153 metric tons of cardamom worth approximately $59.18 million has been exported. Traders in the Birtamod area who are involved in buying and selling of cardamom stated that since the price of cardamom reached up to $1,718.25 per 0.1 metric tons this year, the cardamom purchased from farmers is being exported immediately without keeping it in stock. Cardamom produced in most districts of eastern Nepal is usually collected and traded in Birtamod. We'll be right back after this short break with updates on the Karachi gas explosion, the South Korea presidential sentence and UK's Prince Andrew arrest. Do stay tuned. In the international headliner, a gas explosion has torn through an apartment building in Pakistan's largest port city of Karachi, killing at least 16 people, including women and children, and injuring several others. After part of the structure collapsed, police and rescue officials have informed. The explosion occurred on Thursday in a residential neighborhood of Karachi, the capital of southern Sindh province, as residents were preparing a pre-dawn meal on the first day of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, according to the local police. Rescuers were still removing rubble to search for any survivors trapped under the debris, and the search and rescue operation was ongoing. Former President Yoon Suk Yeol was sentenced to life in prison on Thursday in South Korea for leading a brief illegal insurrection through the imposition of martial law in December 2024. Judge Ji Kyu Yoon said he found Yoon guilty of rebellion for mobilizing military and police forces in an illegal attempt to seize the Liberal-led National Assembly, arrest politicians and establish unchecked power for a considerable time. A special prosecutor had demanded the death penalty for Yoon, saying his actions posed a threat to the country's democracy and deserved the most serious punishment available. The verdict comes after Yoon was formally removed from office in April 2025 following his impeachment and a subsequent arrest last July. The court also handed down significant sentences to Yoon's key collaborators, including 23 years for former Prime Minister Han Duck-soo and a 30-year jail term for ex-Defense Minister Kim Yon-hyun for their roles in orchestrating the decree. Throughout the trial, Yoon defended his actions as a necessary defense against anti-state forces, and he is expected to appeal the ruling. Outside the judicial complex, the sentencing sparked intense reactions as rival groups of supporters and critics rallied amid a heavy police presence. Britain's former Prince Andrew was Thursday arrested on suspicion of misconduct during his time as a trade envoy, as UK police investigations into allegations emerging from the Jeffrey Epstein files gathered pace. Andrew was last year stripped of all his titles, having been forced out of his former home by his brother, King Charles III. As part of the investigation into Andrew, Thames Valley Police said in a statement that they had arrested a man in his 60s from Norfolk on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Several UK media reported a fleet of unmarked cars, believed to be police vehicles, were seen arriving early Thursday at the Sandringham estate in eastern England, where Andrew now resides. New revelations last week appeared to show Andrew sent convicted US sex offender Epstein potentially confidential documents during his time as a UK trade envoy. U.S. President Donald Trump gathered approximately 24 world leaders in Washington today to inaugurate the Board of Peace, a new institution focused on Gaza and broader global ambitions. The summit follows a U.S.-brokered ceasefire negotiated alongside Qatar and Egypt. Current efforts have transitioned into a second phase centered on disarming Hamas, even as Gaza's health ministry reports at least 601 deaths since the truce began. Trump is expected to detail over $5 billion in pledges for Gaza's reconstruction, even suggesting the development of future resorts amidst the rubble. One of the objectives of the meeting is the launch of an international stabilization force, with Indonesia offering to contribute up to 8,000 troops for security. The board will operate out of the former U.S. Institute of Peace building, which was rebranded after Trump dismissed the original staff. Under the Board of Peace's unique terms, Trump retains permanent veto power and leadership even after his presidency. And nations seeking permanent membership must pay a $1 billion fee. Since President Trump launched his Board of Peace at the World Economic Forum in Davos in January 2026, at least 19 countries have signed its founding charter. The Vatican, meanwhile, said it will not participate in U.S. President Donald Trump's Board of Peace, its Secretary of State said on Tuesday. Well, do stay with us after this break for a profile on Japan's Iron Lady Sanei Takaichi. Updates from Mark Zuckerberg's social media addiction trial and the latest from the U.S. Energy Secretary on IEA tensions. She dominated the airwaves as primetime news anchor, and the stage as a heavy metal drummer. Now, Sanei Takaichi is marching Japan toward a new nationalist era. We profile the Iron Lady, whose historic landslide has given her the mandate to redefine Japan's borders and its global voice. Sarah Sapsana-Marai looks into the interesting journey of a drummer turned Prime Minister of Japan.
She's not just breaking glass ceilings, she's breaking drumsticks. Meet Sanei Takaichi, the 64-year-old heavy metal drummer who drummed her way to a historic 2/3 supermajority in Japan's parliament. But Takaichi's comfort in front of the camera is not new. Long before her rise in the LDP, Takaichi was a household name as a television journalist and news anchor. That media-savvy background has become her greatest weapon, allowing her to bypass traditional political gatekeepers and speak directly to a new generation of Japanese voters. A self-proclaimed admirer of the Iron Lady, Margaret Thatcher, Takaichi has officially been dubbed Japan's own. After a high-stakes snap election gamble that delivered an unprecedented 316 seats, Takaichi is taking the reins of a nation of 123 million with a mandate for a radical Japan-first shift. Takaichi's Peace Through Strength agenda has already won a digital thumbs up from Donald Trump, who is set to host her in Washington next month. But while the US cheers, Beijing is fuming over her stance on Taiwan Island. Takaichi is signaling that the era of Japanese quiet diplomacy is over. As she puts it, no one helps a nation that will not defend itself. Yet Takaichi remains a political enigma. The former TV star is an ultra-conservative strategist who jams to K-pop with world leaders and carries handbags that go viral among the youth. Takaichi refuses to frame her leadership around gender, focusing instead on a tough-on-immigration stance that includes a proposed hard cap on foreign residents, a move mirroring the global shift toward border crackdowns. From the newsroom to the mosh pit, and now to the highest office in the land, Sanei Takaichi is the new conductor of Japan's future. The world is watching. The volume is up, And for the Japanese Iron Lady, the real concert has just begun.
Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg testified under oath Wednesday in the high-stakes social media addiction trial, expressing regret over the company's slow progress in identifying underage users on Instagram while defending its safety record. Zuckerberg faced intense questioning regarding accusations that Meta and Google's YouTube deliberately engineered their platforms to hook children, contributing to a mental health crisis among youth. During his testimony, Zuckerberg suggested that the burden of age verification should shift to Apple and Google at the smartphone level rather than being managed by individual apps. The trial centers on Calais GM, a 20-year-old California woman who alleges that her compulsive use of social media starting at age 6 led to mental health problems. This case is expected to set the legal standard for thousands of similar lawsuits filed by families and school districts nationwide. While TikTok and Snapchat were also named in the original complaint, both platforms reached confidential settlements before the trial began. The Energy Secretary, Chris Wright, renewed his threat Thursday to pull out of the International Energy Agency, saying Washington would press the organization to abandon a net zero agenda in the next year or so. Speaking on the last day of an IEA ministerial meeting in Paris, Wright said the 52-year-old agency should return to its founding mission of ensuring energy security. The IEA was created to coordinate responses to major disruptions of supplies after the 1973 oil crisis. But Wright complained that it has adopted a climate agenda that includes the goal of reaching net zero emissions by 2050.
Nations are free to engage in any agenda they want, but the Energy Agency, founded for energy security, needs to focus on energy security and not energy impoverishment. If we can achieve that goal, and I think we have a reasonable chance of achieving that goal, it'll be a very proud achievement. We will remain a proud and original founding member of the IEA. But if the IEA is not able to bring itself back to focusing on the mission of energy honesty, energy access, and energy security, then sadly we would become an ex-member of the IEA.
French President Emmanuel Macron told a global artificial intelligence summit in India on Thursday he was determined to ensure safe oversight of the fast-evolving technology. The European Union has led the way for global regulation with its Artificial Intelligence Act, which was adopted in 2024 and is coming into force in phases.
France, we are doubling the number of AI scientists and engineers trained. And we've now more than 1,100 AI startups thriving in France, creating dozens, thousands of jobs. Opposite to what some misinformed friends have been saying, Europe is not blindly focused on regulation. Europe is a space for innovation and investment, but it is a safe space.
Lined up on the other side of the short break are the sporting headliners. The schedule for the Super 8 stage of the ICC T20 World Cup has been officially released, with exciting matchups set to take place from February 21 to March 1st across various cities in India and Sri Lanka. The opening match will see New Zealand take on Pakistan in Colombo on 21st of February, followed by a clash between Sri Lanka and England in Kandy, and India facing South Africa in Ahmedabad on the second day. Other key matches include Zimbabwe versus West Indies in Mumbai, and later games such as England versus Pakistan, Sri Lanka versus New Zealand, and India will be taking on Zimbabwe across venues like Kandy, Colombo, Ahmedabad and Chennai. On 27th of February, England and New Zealand will meet in Colombo, and Sri Lanka will play Pakistan in Kandy the following day. The Super 8 stage will culminate on March the 1st with Zimbabwe facing South Africa in Delhi and India taking on the West Indies in Kolkata. The semi-finals will be held on 4th and 5th of March with the grand finale scheduled for March 8th. And before we wind up, here's a quick recap of the top stories of the hour. UML and RSP release election manifestos focusing on governance, development and systemic reforms. Nepal marks 76th Democracy Day, reflecting on historical struggles for freedom, good governance and unity ahead of the March elections. Acting Chief Election Commissioner of Nepal urges media to avoid opinion polls during election period. At least 7 election police officers injured in a van accident in Jumla district of Nepal today. Gas explosion in Karachi of Pakistan kills at least 16 people, several others injured. An ICC T20 World Cup Super 8 match schedule announced, New Zealand to face Pakistan in the opening clash. That's all for the moment here on Primetime News. Our next bulletin will be at 2200 hours Nepal time. Do join us through our social media and visit our official website, nepaltelevision.com. I am Shivani Thapa Bosna. Thank you for staying with us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu, Public Service Broadcasting PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World, facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal.
Telling stories that endure across centuries. Where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World.
Taste of Nepal. Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands.
Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
This is The World This Week, your weekly roundup of the latest international events and updates. This is me, Bhavana Casey. In this edition, we bring you the stories making headlines across the globe, from landmark elections and high-stakes summits to groundbreaking scientific missions, remarkable human feats and cultural celebrations. We begin in South Asia, where Bangladesh has witnessed a historic election. The Bangladesh Nationalist Party BNP has won a majority of more than two-thirds of seats in parliament in a landmark election. These are the first polls since a student-led protest in 2024 ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, who denies ordering a crackdown in which 1,400 people were killed. The Bangladesh Nationalist Party has claimed victory in the country's first election since the 2024 uprising, positioning itself to form the next government and potentially reshape Bangladesh's political landscape after years of intense rivalry and disputed polls. The Election Commission said the voters' turnout in Thursday's election stood at 59.44%. More than 127 million voters were eligible. Akhtar Ahmad, a senior secretary of the Election Commission, said that a majority of voters backed a proposal for constitutional reforms that was held alongside the election. The proposal included prime-ministerial term limits and stronger checks on executive power. The Bangladesh Nationalist Party is headed by 60-year-old Tariq Rahman, its prime-ministerial candidate who returned to Bangladesh in December after 17 years in self-exile in London. He is the son of former Prime Minister Khaleda Zia, who died in December. Hasina's Awami League was banned from contesting the election, in which Jamaat, the Islamist party, came second. This week, two other Asian nations also went to the polls. In Japan, Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi and her Liberal Democratic Party secured a commanding majority, while in Thailand, Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul led his party to a victory and began forming a new coalition government. In Japan, Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi and her Liberal Democratic Party won a commanding majority in the lower house's election, giving them unprecedented legislative power. The victory marks a historic landslide for the ruling coalition, weakening opposition parties and solidifying Takaichi's mandate to push forward her policy agenda. While in Thailand, Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul led the Vumjai Thai party to a decisive win in the general election, securing the largest share of parliamentary seats. The party is now forming a coalition government with a few Thai party, ensuring a stable majority and continued leadership for Anutin. It is said the results signal a shift towards more pragmatic and stability-focused politics, following years of political turbulence and the decline of traditional dominance by few Thai. From politics to policy now. In the United States, President Donald Trump has reversed a key Obama-era scientific ruling that underpins all federal actions on curbing planet-warming gases. The White House called the reversal the largest deregulation in American history, saying it would make cars more cheaper. Speaking in the Oval Office, Trump said the 2009 ruling was a disaster Obama-era policy that severely damaged the American auto industry and massively drove up prices for American consumers.
In 2009, Barack Hussein Obama, his EPA designated fossil fuels such as oil, gas, and other things that actually make factories rock and roll and other things drive very nicely as a threat to health and human welfare. known as the endangerment finding. This determination had no basis, in fact, had none whatsoever, and it had no basis in law. On the contrary, over the generations, fossil fuels have saved millions of lives and lifted billions of people out of poverty and all over the world. And
Trump administration officials are stressing that overturning the regulation will save more than $1 trillion and will help cut the price of energy and transport. Reversing the finding will reduce automobile manufacturers' cost by $2,400 per vehicle, the White House claimed. While working on overturning the finding, the Trump administration also utilized the 2009's ruling to prevent states from passing the laws that would be stricter on carbon emissions. Environmental groups say the move is by far the most significant rollback on climate change it attempted and are set to challenge in the courts. Trump also said promoting coal power helps lower energy costs and boasted about withdrawing from the Paris Climate Accord during an event at the White House. In Europe, leaders of the European Union met in Brussels this week to tackle pressing issues like energy security, migration, and regional stability. The talks aim to strengthen coordination among member states as the bloc faces economical and geopolitical challenges across Europe and beyond. NATO leaders urged European allies to take on a greater share of the alliance's defense responsibilities, emphasizing increased spending and military readiness amid shifting U.S. involvement and ongoing geopolitical tensions. At the summit, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte reiterated the call for a more European-led NATO, saying that Europe must boost defense spending and take greater responsibility for its own security.
We need a NATO which is more European-led. And how does that work out? It means Europeans spending more, taking more responsibility for their own defense. It is one of the biggest and richest parts of the world. The collective GDP of Europe, not only the European Union, but including Norway and including Turkey and including the United Kingdom and other countries not in the European Union. And of course the European Union nations also in NATO. That collective GDP is massive.
European members and Canada committed new military and financial aid for Ukraine's defense, while talks in Brussels highlighted a turning point as the alliance seeks to strengthen deterrence and collective defense. British Defense Minister John Healey meanwhile said Ukraine's Western allies have placed roughly $35 billion in military aid to Kiev so far this year.
Together, I can confirm at today's UDCG, we pledged a total of $35 billion worth of new military aid for Ukraine. For our part, the UK is spending the highest level of support for military aid for Ukraine ever. And at this UDCG, I announced a new £500 million package of urgent air defence support for Ukraine, President Zelensky's top priority.
The pledge comes amid ongoing discussions on boosting support for Ukraine's defense against Russian aggression. And in space news, Europe's new Ariane 6 has lifted off from Kourou, carrying 32 satellites for Amazon's low Earth orbit broadband network. Backed by Jeff Bezos, the constellation aims to challenge Starlink, the satellite internet service developed by Elon Musk in the rapidly expanding global broadband space race.
Europe's Ariane 6 successfully lifted off from Kourou, carrying 32 satellites for Amazon's low Earth orbit broadband network. The launch, the first major mission for the newly developed Ariane 6, marks a significant milestone in Europe's space ambitions and its entry into the rapidly growing satellite internet market. Backed by Jeff Bezos, the Amazon satellite constellation is designed to provide global high-speed internet coverage, targeting remote and underserved regions while competing directly with Starlink, the LEO network developed by Elon Musk. This launch represents a major escalation in the commercial space race as companies vie for dominance in the lucrative satellite broadband sector. This launch highlights the growing role of private companies in space infrastructure, with Amazon and SpaceX leading the charge in commercial satellite broadband, while Europe strengthens its domestic launch capabilities to remain competitive in the sector.
On the science front, Chinese researchers have made a breakthrough in Parkinson's disease treatment, improving patient outcomes by targeting a key brain network, offering hope for millions affected worldwide. Chinese scientists have discovered the core pathological brain network for Parkinson's disease, and direct medical intervention targeting this network in clinical studies has achieved positive outcomes. The findings made by a research team led by Professor Liu Hesing were published in the journal Nature on Thursday. According to China Parkinson's Disease Report 2025, more than 5 million people are living with Parkinson's disease in China, accounting for about 2/5 of the global patient population. Parkinson's disease has been a major global challenge for years. Clinical trial results show that after 2 weeks of treatment using the stimulator, the scan target group achieved a treatment efficacy rate of 55.5% compared to only 22.2% in the control group that targeted nearby brain areas. In Pakistan's Lahore, thousands of residents and visitors took to the rooftops as the Basanta Kite Flying Festival made a spectacular return after nearly 20 years. The springtime celebration, long banned over safety concerns, is now back under strict regulations aimed at keeping the skies colorful and safe. After nearly 2 decades, Pakistan's iconic Basanta Kite Flying Festival has returned to Lahore under strict government regulation, drawing thousands of residents and visitors to the city's rooftops as colorful kites filled the sky. The 3-day event marks the first major celebration of the traditional spring festival since its ban in 2008, when hazardous kite strings and related accidents prompted authorities to ban kite flying across Punjab. The revival follows the passage of the Punjab Regulation of Kite Flying Ordinance 2025, which allows Basanta to be celebrated on a limited scale within Lahore under strict safety protocols. Officials have banned sharp strings and chemical-coated lines and mandated individual QR codes and kites and strings for traceability, while rooftops hosting large gatherings are required to register with local officials. Officials and participants expressed hope that this year's regulated Basanta Kite Flying Festival could become a sustainable tradition once again, provided compliance with safety rules to help prevent the accidents that led to the long-standing ban. Bande Amir National Park in central Afghanistan is famous for its 6 deep blue lakes and a stunning mountain scenery, attracting visitors from inside and outside the country. As Afghanistan's first national park, it supports local tourism and protects rare plants and wildlife despite ongoing security challenges. Bande Amir National Park, located in central Afghanistan, is one of the country's most renowned natural attractions, drawing both domestic and international visitors to its dramatic landscape of mountains and lakes. Established in 2009 as Afghanistan's first national park, the site encompasses 6 deep blue lakes, which shimmer against rock cliffs and high-altitude terrain, creating a striking contrast that has made the park a symbol of the country's natural beauty. The park's lakes, with vivid blue and cobalt hues that have captivated photographers, hikers, and nature enthusiasts. Local officials say Bande Amir has become a focal point for tourism in the region, providing economic opportunities for nearby communities while showcasing Afghanistan's rich ecological heritage. Despite ongoing security challenges in the parts of the country, Bande Amir continues to attract visitors who travel to experience its clear waters, unique rock formations, and opportunities for hiking, boating, and wildlife observation. Conservationists emphasize that the park not only preserves Afghanistan's natural scenery but also protects rare flora and fauna, including migratory birds and endemic plant species, making it an important site for environmental stewardship in the country. In New York City, thousands of cats living inside neighborhood bodegas are at the center of a growing debate despite regulations banning animals from food stores. A proposal from City Council member Keith Power aims to legalize the so-called bodega cats, while animal welfare groups warn the plan may not guarantee a proper care.
Thousands of cats are kept in New York City's corner shops known as bodegas, despite regulations that prohibit animals in stores selling food. Simba, a ginger and white cat living in a Manhattan bodega, is one such animal, valued by shopkeepers for keeping mice away and attracting customers. The cats have become a cultural fixture in the city, prompting growing calls to legalize their presence. An estimated 1/3 of the city's roughly 10,000 bodegas are believed to have a resident cat, even though owners can face fines of up to $350. Photographer and activist Dan Ramada has launched a petition to legalize bodega cats, while City Council member Keith Powers has proposed legislation to shield shop owners from penalties and offer free vaccination and spay or neuter services. Animal welfare groups warn that the proposal may not ensure adequate care for the cat, expats and argue that public funds would be better directed towards low-income families for pet welfare rather than businesses. New York is currently estimated to have a stray cat population of around 500,000.
Now to Peru, where over 100 couples dressed in white say "I do" in unison ahead of Valentine's Day in Lima, sealing their love in a vibrant mass wedding ceremony presided over by the mayor of Lima.
The event, organized by the municipal government, was presided over by the mayor of Lima, who officiated the nuptials and congratulated the newlyweds on their commitment. The ceremony brought together couples from diverse backgrounds, creating a festive and heartwarming atmosphere as friends, families and spectators cheered them on. The municipal initiative aims to provide an opportunity for couples, many of whom may not have been able to afford a traditional wedding, to celebrate their love in a memorable and communal setting. Participants expressed joy and gratitude, saying the mass wedding not only allowed them to formalize their relationships legally, but also offered a sense of unity and shared celebration with other couples. The event featured traditional music, decorations in red and white, and symbolic gestures that highlighted both romance and cultural heritage, making it a vibrant prelude to Valentine's Day across the city.
In South Korea, divers dressed in brightly colored hanbok plunged into a giant aquarium tank, creating a striking underwater celebration ahead of the Lunar New Year. The performance, staged among fish and coral to mark Seolal, blended centuries-old tradition with modern spectacle as South Korea prepares for one of its most important family holidays.
Scuba divers wearing brightly colored hanbok, South Korea's traditional dress, plunged into a large aquarium tank in Seoul. The stunt marked the upcoming Lunar New Year and delighted visitors with an unusual underwater celebration. The performance, staged among fish and coral, was designed to blend festive tradition with spectacle ahead of one of the country's most important holidays. Known locally as Seollal, the Lunar New Year is a major family occasion in South Korea, when people travel to their hometowns to honor ancestors, share traditional food, and exchange blessings. While the holiday is rooted in centuries-old customs, public events like the aquarium dive reflect how modern South Korea is finding creative ways to celebrate its cultural heritage and draw public attention to the festive season.
In China, performers lit up Shanghai's iconic waterfront with dazzling fireworks made by scattering molten iron into the air, while a lantern festival attracted crowds celebrating the arrival of Lunar New Year in China.
The streets and waterfront of Shanghai came alive with vibrant celebrations as performers created spectacular fireworks by scattering molten iron into the air, painting the night sky with showers of sparks. Crowds gathered along the Huangpu River to witness the dazzling display, which is part of the city's traditional Lunar New Year festivities. In addition to the fiery spectacle, a lantern festival drew families and tourists alike, with thousands of colorful lanterns illuminating parks and streets, symbolizing good fortune and the coming of a prosperous year. Vendors offered traditional snacks and cultural performances, adding to the festive atmosphere that has become a hallmark of Shanghai's spring celebrations. The event underscores the continued popularity of large-scale public festivities in China, despite ongoing health and safety precautions. Local authorities ensured high security and crowd management to allow visitors to enjoy the displays safely. The celebrations highlight cultural significance of Lunar New Year, blending ancient traditions with modern spectacle in one of China's most iconic cities.
Well, Shanghai's dazzling celebration of Lunar New Year brings us to the end of this episode of The World This Week. We hope you enjoyed as much as we did bringing it to you. We shall see you again next week with a new episode. Also, do follow us on our website www.nepaltelevision.com, our social media handles, as well as our YouTube channel. Till then, take care and bye-bye.
dance, food, art and devotion are the lifeblood of Newar culture, an ancient civilization rooted in the Kathmandu Valley of Nepal. With lively festivals nearly every fortnight, the Newars celebrate life through a rich tapestry of traditions known as Jatra.
We have Jaco Dutoy with us, the UNESCO representative to Nepal. He has traveled across our sites, met our makers, and seen the heart behind our culture. Today we get into what he has discovered about Nepal along the way. So Jaco, you've been here for 6 months in Nepal, right?
That's correct.
Yes. So would you like to share to our audience where have you been and what have you seen in Nepal?
I've discovered a very diverse country, from its mountains, the Himalayas, extraordinary views on what these mountains represent, to the Terai, the flatlands, and how diverse the natural beauty is, and also the warmth of people. From I think of Chitwan, I met some young digital creators that want to tell a real story about what Nepal is. I think of members of a UNESCO club that wants to use virtual reality to reflect the cultural diversity of Mustang. So it's been quite a journey in order to meet people, see different landscapes and different aspects of your beautiful country.
So you've been to Chitwan as well?
Yes, Chitwan was, I have to say, one of my favorite places. It's, of course, a natural World Heritage Site with such varieties of species in terms of plants, in terms of birds, in terms of animals. And I think it's really worth making sure that such a beautiful place is preserved and that the communities that live around it can also fully take advantage of this great beauty of the site.
From the UNESCO lens, is there something in our policy that you would change for the younger generation?
One element I think that could be of interest is specifically related to the cultural industries that are not recognized as such yet. There's a UNESCO convention on cultural expression and that address the questions related to cultural industries. And I think by also adhering to this convention, cultural policies can not only focus on the great cultural heritage, but also on the cultural industries and its role to generate jobs its role to also preserve
Right.
what this country has to say. So I think that is one element that UNESCO can assist the country in moving forward. In the field of education, there are huge demands in order to update content, curricula, help for teachers. And I think here we have a recommendation on open education resources, where openly licensed educational materials can be easily adapted in different languages, in accessible formats. And I think this is another area where UNESCO's help could really make a difference on the ground.
So, from what you've seen on the ground, how can these crafts or the communities that work on these crafts can benefit financially and even culturally? What do you think?
I think they can benefit from it if it's acknowledged as a sector per se, if there's access to markets. And I think more and more young people turn also to technology in order to see how they could access larger markets. I think if there are also standards and opportunities to standardize some of the products so that when it comes to export or selling it, that it adhere to some international standards is another very important field. And there are still lacks of skills. If you look at the traditional craftsmen or craftswomen, they do not necessarily have the skills to sell their products. They know how to make it, but not necessarily how to sell it, how to market it, how to budget and to manage an enterprise. So I think these skill sets and enlarging also the skill sets of those working in this field are all fields that are necessary in order to really take full advantage of this field.
Yeah. So is there a community that you would like to spotlight today that could flourish from culture and these crafts economically and culturally with their heritage being preserved?
Recently, I think 2 weeks ago, UNESCO reached out to a community in Tame where we help them to document their intangible heritage.
Right.
And I think these women, men, and young people that see that after the glove outburst, people looked at the environment but not at their culture. And they want to preserve it. They want this also to revive as their natural environment. The cultural environment should also revive. And I think these are people that believe in their culture, that feel proud of their culture. And this is an example, I think, of communities that really are examples of people that through resilience and working with different partners really feel that they could preserve and make known their rich cultural expressions.
Are there any obstacles or challenges that you've had to face or UNESCO as a whole have to face here in Nepal or even outside of Nepal?
Well, I think challenges are part of our job. That's why we are here, is in order to look at challenges and transform those into opportunities by pulling in international expertise, by looking at our standard setting work. And I think if you want an example, is the Man and Biosphere Reserve concept, where the Man and Biosphere Reserve concept highlights the importance of people living in nature, but at the same time also preserving that natural spot. But Nepal has no Man and Biosphere Reserve yet. So that's a challenge that we need to resolve together with the different stakeholders in order to see how such a Man and Biosphere Reserve can make a change for communities that live in a protected area, and I think specifically of Kanchenjunga. I've visited also this beautiful area where indigenous communities are passionate about the diversity of fauna and flora and their culture and what it means in order to preserve also their environment and the challenges that they face in order to preserve, but also to be economic viable in having jobs, in modernizing also their lifestyle. And these are a field, this is a field where UNESCO can help through an international concept, and we are working closely with those communities.
So is there a process, or should there be changes in policy to bring this concept or implement this concept in Nepal?
Well, in some cases, yes, but in Kanchenjunga, it is a community-led conservation area. So I think
that's the beauty of Nepal.
That is the beauty of Nepal. It is an example, an international example, where the community can lead that change. We just need to work on the zoning in order to make sure that the preservation areas are there, the buffer zone where there could be other activities taking place, and then make it internationally known. That is the challenge.
So while we talk about indigenous communities and nature, so are we risking or losing authenticity while trying to modernize or in the process of urban development? What do you think?
It is possible to lose the authenticity. But I think that there are examples in Nepal where this authenticity has not lost its specificity, and I think of Bhaktapur, for example, the beautiful squares that you have where after the earthquake, for example, it was rebuilt. There's particular attention to the original materials that were used in the reconstruction efforts. So I think this is a good example. But I think one needs to be careful, because when one reconstruct, when one preserve, it takes time. One needs to document, one needs to make sure that it represents its original authenticity. One needs to use some of the building materials that are maybe not as amply available than before. One needs to involve communities, and to involve communities takes time. So I think there are challenges, but I think Nepal is a good example where, especially after the reconstruction of the earthquake, extraordinary work has been done just after such a devastating event.
It's been a decade since the big earthquake of Nepal. So what does still concern you about, or what has Nepal done right?
I think Nepal has, first of all, involved communities. And communities were often, I think, very quick to respond to what happened after the earthquake. And I think this is extraordinary, that communities are so reactive and also have a space in order to act, to reconstruct and be part of the process. I think Nepal also mobilized an array of partners from different development partners, from international UNESCO and others, in order to come in with expertise and assist where necessary, without losing its authenticity. And I think this is also quite an endeavor in order to make sure that involving so many partners to keep the specificity of what Nepal represents and what its sites do. This said, I think after the earthquake, I'm concerned that we do not necessarily have a disaster risk plan for if something happens again. So there is still some work to be done. But Nepal has done a lot of things in a good way.
But do you think Nepal has unintentionally created replicas instead of preserving the character of the natural heritages during reconstruction?
No, I think there's been quite an effort in order to take into account new knowledge that have been generated through research, looking at disaster plans and integrating these the findings of these findings of this research into the reconstruction mode and making an effort to reuse, I think, also some of the older materials that have been used before.
Okay, let's move on to education. Education is also a part of UNESCO. So what has UNESCO done for Nepal in the field of education?
Yes, UNESCO work within the UN family together with other UN agencies such as UNICEF and others in advancing education. And our work has concentrated on looking at informal education and education systems, looking at local education plans, and localizing curricula, training and other elements in the education system at local level, looking at the technical vocational education and advancing those elements, and also the higher education sector, looking at standards in terms of higher education references that need to be integrated within the system so that higher education qualifications in Nepal can be acknowledged also can also be acknowledged outside of Nepal. So I think we have an array of work to be done while we are the lead in the Sustainable Development Goal 4, that is on education. We work with others, the rest of the UN and other development partners, and we innovate. I think just yesterday we got additional assistance from Norway to work with UNICEF in a greening education initiative. And this is exciting in order to see also how a concept like greening education takes root in Nepal and also contribute to the well-being of your citizens.
Absolutely. And it should start from Nepal as well. There could be many examples. But as a UNESCO representative to Nepal, what do you think are the biggest gaps in education that Nepal has to overcome to achieve inclusive education?
In a recent midterm review of the education sector plan, I think several challenges have been highlighted. I think, first of all, looking specifically at some disadvantaged groups that are still in a disadvantaged position, either because of their language or because of them living with disabilities, or them living in certain geographical areas that do not perform as well as others. So I think this is one challenge in order to have education for all. Secondly, I think there's also a challenge in terms of motivating teachers and upscaling teachers' proficiency in new skills that come up every day. And this is another field that UNESCO can play a role together with other development partners in order to make sure that our teachers are good teachers that are up to date in their skills. And I think in terms of the use of data to influence policy and planning, much more can be done in order to make use of the data that is collected and to collect data in a more systematic way. And lastly, I think so many challenges still exist in the use of new technologies and making use of these new technologies in the classroom.
As we talk about new technologies, is UNESCO helping to adapt education in Nepal through AI, learning tools, or skills development? Are there any projects, or have you done something?
So a few examples of what UNESCO has done. I think the first one is the ICT Master Plan in education, where we contributed through our international standards also in shaping this ICT Master Plan. Secondly, in the informal education sector, we looked at specific competencies in technologies for the teachers in the informal education system. And thirdly, after a recent meeting with the Minister of Education, we talked also about UNESCO's competency framework for the use of AI in the classroom. And many opportunities, but also pitfalls exist in this field. And this is a new field, I think, that we are ready to assist Nepal in.
So as you might have seen that these realities on the ground, Nepal does face a huge amount of climate injustice. So what does the resilience of the Nepali people tell you?
I think there's a lot of innovation. And again, let me turn to the green schooling initiative through eco clubs, for example, where young people are engaged and they feel that they have to do something in order to contribute to a more resilient Nepal as it relates to natural disasters. The stories that one hears from young people that suffer but are also ready to do something and feel a responsibility to change things also in the way that we consume, in the way that we manage waste, and many other fields, really tells us that that resilience starts from a very young age. But much more can be done to institutionalize that and I think to scale up those initiatives.
Do you have any examples, or have you seen few communities that have protected heritage better than any kind of policy or institution?
Well, I think on the 8th and 9th of September, we've seen how citizens themselves protected the Ministry of Culture, the National Archives. And I think this tells a story about Nepalese, where they feel that they need to preserve their culture in spite of having differences. They actually have a responsibility towards the preservation of cultural heritage. So I think this is a good example where artists, those engaged in the field of culture, really stand up and say, we want to protect our heritage. And for me, that's a good example.
Absolutely. So is there any place or heritage site that still fills you with awe in Nepal?
There are so many sites, and I think it's difficult to lift out one. I really feel that the Himalayan mountains are extraordinary, and its majesty, its presence, is something that one cannot see anywhere else in the world. I was hiking 2 weekends ago, and I could just see this range of beautiful mountains. But at the same time, I think it reminds us also of the vulnerability of this. If we do not work on its protection, if we do not work on involving communities in its preservation, it will not be there for always. But what an extraordinary country, but also the people. And I think this is really what that makes a difference compared to other places.
Right. So after your time here in Nepal, what is the one image of Nepal, heritage sites or people that will stay with you forever?
Well, as I've only been here 6 months, I can have one example, and I'm sure I'll have more, and that is the people that participated and pulled the chariots in Lalitpur. And I think that shows the engagement of Nepalese in who they are, the devotion, by believing also in this ancient tradition, and resilience. It seems to be quite heavy to pull such a huge structure. And I think this shows how people and culture are one, and that this living heritage is part of Nepal. And I think I will not forget that image where this huge carriage is moving forward because of the effort of people.
What do you think Nepal can learn or change or adapt from what other countries are doing in the field of conservation, preservation, or even reconstruction?
Well, I think it's an evolving field, and there's a lot of innovation happening elsewhere. One element that I think is important, and I've seen, for example, at Lumbini, is the management of tourists. Is to, I think, really invest in training and plans that manage tourists, different kinds of tourists that come to Lumbini as an example, and how to deal with it. Many good examples in Korea, Pakistan, and elsewhere exist. So I think this is one example. But I think also the use of technology in managing tourist sites, but also preserving tourist sites. And why not your great documentary heritage, the scripts that you have? So much is being done elsewhere, and I think if there's an exchange between those experts and your great experts, even more can be done in Nepal.
Okay, so before wrapping up, I want you to tell the audience your to-do lists here in Nepal, and what would you like to see, maybe adventures, the foods you want to eat, the cultures you want to spend time with. What do you want to do? Please tell our audience.
So from a personal perspective, I think the Yomari food has been put on the National Intangible Heritage Site, so I haven't tasted that yet. I would love to taste the Yomari food. Secondly, I think the trekking experience is something that I haven't done. I've done hiking, but not trekking, and it seems extraordinary, and also interacting with the different communities that are there. And then thirdly, you have beautiful rivers, and each time that I pass at places where you can see river rafters, I think I have to be one of those that take advantage of this adventure in your country.
So thank you so much for joining us.
Real pleasure to spend with NTV World. This has been great also to talk about experiences in Nepal, and how great this country is, and its future lies ahead with young people, with cultural heritage and natural heritage that is present and just wait to be further explored.
Thank you so much, Jaco, for joining us.
Pleasure.
That is all for today, folks. Now we will be with you in the next episode of NTV Insights.
Inside the quiet courtyard of Baber Mahal, colors seem to breathe on their own. This is Siddharth Art Gallery, home to some of Nepal's most defining contemporary art movements. Today, the gallery opens its doors to Mithila Cosmos, a universe imagined through the brush of artist S.C. Suman, a name inseparable from the evolution of gallery space.
म आफ्नो बच्चैदेखि हजुरआमालाई हेर्दै थिएँ यो भित्तामा उहाँ कोर्नुहुन्थ्यो अब भित्तामा कोर्दै जाँदाखेरि उहाँलाई हेर्दै आएँ र त्यसपछि म बालकालदेखि नै स्कुल जाँदा अनि फुलहरू हेर्दा मलाई हजुरआमाले पेन्टिङ गर्नुहुन्छ त्यसमा रङ बनाउनुहुन्छ भनेर म उहाँको लागि बाटोमा खसेका फुलहरू ल्याएर उहाँलाई दिन्थेँ र उहाँलाई भन्थेँ कि ल यसबाट पनि रङ बनाउनुहोस् यसबाट पनि पेन्टिङ गर्नुहोस् अनि यो कुरा मलाई एकदम सहजै प्र्याक्टिसमा आएको जस्तो लाग्यो र उहाँको पछि उहाँ भित्ताहरू रङाउँदाखेरि पेन्टिङहरू गर्दाखेरि म उहाँलाई छोडेर कतै जाँदैनथेँ र मलाई पनि काम गर्न दिनुहोस् भनेर उहाँ कहिले काहीँ दिक पनि मान्नुहुन्थ्यो कति मलाई माने यो डिस्टर्ब गरेको तिमी जाऊ खेल भनेर त्यही पनि म उहाँसँग बस्थेँ अब उहाँले त्यही पनि उहाँको म बसिरहन्थेँ उहाँले चाहिँ साइडमा कुनै कुनामा एउटा सानो चित्र बनाइदिनुहुन्थ्यो र यसमा तिमी रङ भर भन्नुहुन्थ्यो अनि म छिटो रङ भर्थेँ अनि उहाँले आश्चर्य भन्नुहुन्थ्यो हेर कति मभन्दा पनि राम्रो रङ भर्दो रहेछ भनेर अनि यसरी मलाई चाहिँ मिथिला पेन्टिङले नजिक ल्यायो र म त्यो फेरि त्यो गर्न थालेँ.
What we see today is not just an exhibition, it is a lived memory of culture, philosophy, and the changing world around us.
यसरी प्रत्येक घटनासँग जोडिँदै आएर एक्जिबिसन आएको हो र 2021 मा मिथिला कस्मस द साइकल अफ टाइम आयो त्यसपछि त्यो 22 मा सक्यो 22 को जनवरीमा सक्यो र त्यसपछि अहिले आएर यो 25 मा यो एक्जिबिसन आयो त्यो बीचको जुन अब फेरि यसलाई कसरी जोड्ने त अब जस्तो कि नेपाल एकाडेमी अफ फाइन आर्ट्समा म काउन्सिल मेम्बर हुँदाखेरि मैले आफ्नो देशको लोककलाहरूलाई हेर्न पाएँ म लोककला विभाग प्रमुख थिएँ हैन अनि त्यो हेर्दै जाँदाखेरि म पूर्वदेखि पश्चिमसम्म उत्तरदेखि दक्षिणसम्मका त्यो जिल्लाहरू भ्रमण गरेँ आफ्ना हाम्रा लोककलाहरूलाई हेरेँ हाम्रो भनिन्छ हाम्रो देशमा 123-126 वटा भाषा बोलिन्छ त्यसका आफ्ना संस्कृति छन् आफ्ना चाहिँ रीतिथिति छन् त्यसभित्रका कलाहरू मैले हेर्न पाएँ र त्यो सबैलाई जोड्दै जाँदाखेरि एउटा आर्टिस्टले कसरी त्यो प्रभावित पार्दो रहेछ र त्यो स्टुडियोमा काम गर्दाखेरि त्यो एलिमेन्टहरू हेर्नु र त्यो एलिमेन्टलाई आफ्नो पेन्टिङमा चाहिँ समावेश गर्नु यो सहज रूपमा त्यो हुँदै जान्छ र यो सो ल्याउँदाखेरि चाहिँ तलको तल्लामा हामी चाहिँ हेर्छौँ क्यानभास वर्कहरू छ त्यसमा देवी कथा छन् गीताका सार छन् जीवनका त्यो कथाहरू छन् र त्यसमाथिमा आउँदाखेरि उपत्यकाका कथा छन् त्यसपछि जनकपुरको रामायण र अयोध्याको कथाहरू छ रामायणसँग जोडिएको कथा छ त्यसपछि बौद्ध कथाहरू आएका छन् त्यो सिरिजहरूलाई कसरी एक ठाउँमा हामी कसरी विभिन्न जाति समुदायहरू एउटा साझा फुलबाडी हो त्यसभित्रका संस्कृतिका कुराहरू त्यसभित्रका कुराहरू मैले ल्याउँदाखेरि मलाई त्यो आफैसँग आफूले परिचय गराउनु जस्तो र त्यो मैले कलाको माध्यमबाट बुझेर म यो कुरालाई म आफ्ना नयाँ पुस्ताहरूसम्म पनि यो चाहिँ यसरी हो हाम्रो देश यो मिथिला पेन्टिङ भनेको एउटा समुदाय क्षेत्र समुदायको विशेषको पेन्टिङ होइन यो नेपाली आर्ट हो यदि मिथिला पेन्टिङको नेपाली कलाको कुरा गरे भने मिथिला पेन्टिङलाई छोडेर त्यो नेपाली आर्ट पुरा हुँदैन भनेर मेरो बुझाइमा मैले यसरी यो एक्जिबिसनले ल्याएको.
Mithila art carries centuries of tradition from Janakpur, from mythological narratives and wedding symbols to intricate floral motifs that speak of life, devotion, and identity. The power of Mithila painting lies in its detail. Every line, every border, every color has a purpose.
के हुन्छ कलाकारले जब घुम्छ ऊ चाहिँ ट्राभल गर्छ चाहे त्यो देश विदेशको यात्रा होस् चाहे आफ्नो विषयवस्तु खोजी हिँड्छ र उसले अनुकरण गर्ने क्षमता मलाई लाग्छ उसँग धेरै हुन्छ उसको दिमागमा त्यो कुराहरू आइरहेको हुन्छ क्या त्यो आइरहेको र त्यो कतै न कतै कुनामा बसिरहेको हुन्छ अब जब स्टुडियोमा बिस्तारै काम गर्दै जाँदाखेरि एउटा आर्टवर्कसँग करिब करिब एक सप्ताह उसले बिताउँछ चाहे 15 दिनसम्म बिताउँछ त्यो विषयवस्तु र त्यसका त्यो फ्रेम अब्जेक्टहरूमा बिताउँछ र त्यसमा चाहिँ त्यसको दिमाग त खाली हुँदैन, ऊ सोचिरहन्छ र सोचेर त्यो बिताएका क्षणहरूमा उसले चाहिँ आफ्नो कलाहरूमा त्यसलाई चाहिँ प्रस्कृत गर्दै जान्छ र त्यो अनुभव बटुलेका चिजहरूलाई उसले चाहिँ त्यतिखेर सम्झँदै उसले चाहिँ केही सम्झना आउँछ र केही नयाँ चिज ल्याउँछ। पहिलो एक्जिबिसनहरू गर्दाखेरि त्यो छडिएको हुन्थ्यो जस्तो विभिन्न पेन्टिङहरूलाई ल्याएर एकै ठाउँमा गएर त्यसमा एक्जिबिसन गरिएको जस्तो हुन्थ्यो। त्यसपछि के भयो भने मेरो पहिलो मिथिला सोलो एक्जिबिसनको टाइटल पनि म्याथली आर्ट थियो। त्यसपछि म्याथली आर्ट लिभिङ ट्रेडिसन भनेर आयो। त्यसरी जबसम्म त्यो म्याच्योर्ड हुँदै जान्छ कलाकारले 1-2 स्टेपहरू हुन्छन् त्यो एक्जिबिसनहरूको, त्यसले अनुभव पनि बटुल्छ र बटुल्दै जाँदा भ्युअर्सहरूसँग भेट्छ, जर्नलिस्टहरू भेट्छ, क्रिटिक्सहरूसँग भेट्दै जाँदाखेरि त्यसको निखार आउँदै जान्छ, साधनाको निखार आउँदै जान्छ र त्यो चाहिँ विषयवस्तुसँग जोडिँदै जान्छ र आज आएर यो फ्रेममा चाहिँ हामी हेर्न पाउँछौँ।
Art becomes complete only when someone responds to it. In this gallery, every viewer sees something different. A memory, a symbol, a question, a reminder. What do the visitors find in this universe of Mithila?
Well, as an academician, I feel that Mithila painting is like a healing process to people. And this exhibition has expressed itself in a very beautiful way, expressing each and every motive which is present over here related to not only mythology, but also related to emotions of the people. And it is like a story work over here. The entire journey of Mithila has been depicted over here, which speaks volumes not only about the artist, but also about each and every object which has been portrayed over here.
Walking through these halls feels like traveling between timelines. The ancient and the modern coexist. Tradition is not frozen in the past. It evolves through those who carry it forward.
We feel like connected to Sumanji's works because he takes approach that's quite respectful, quite engaging and contemplative, and someone who speaks with contemplation, someone who prefers to remain in a discipline and work from the frame of that discipline. He had chosen the Mithila paintings framework, and he remains in that framework, and he stretches, expands the framework, and develops narrative power, descriptive power, that communicative power with that frame, and that's something amazing.
It may appear abstract at first glance, but spend a moment longer and stories begin to unfold of gods and goddesses, rituals and seasons, and the subtle emotions of everyday life. And within this rich visual grammar, Suman adds his own world, shaped by places he has lived, moments he has witnessed, and the history that surrounds him.
He was among the first generation artists of Mithila art. When he started his career from the kind of humble background he was in, with that financial background, very few people could actually make art and Mithila art in particular their primary career. So that is what separates him from other artists in that regard. However, I will also admit that a lot of other artists have also put in their contribution in the upliftment of Mithila art, and Mithila art has grown due to the collective effort of a lot of people.
From Vivaha Panchami in Janakpur to the lotus of Bodhanath, from the cosmic churn of Samudra Manthan to the silence of COVID lockdowns, Suman brings time onto canvas. His lines become memory, his colors become testimony.
Yeah, there are many favorites, you can see that. If you see that, there are, each painting says some story. Like this is if you see this, here the wedding, Sita, Mata Sita wedding with the Ram. There's the procession going on, And every painting, you will see that there are the nature. The Yasishman painting is the nature he captures very nicely. The color combination, you will find very rare artists. That type of eye-catching is that one. Many things are within the one paintings.
Mithila Cosmos reminds us that art is not only what we see, it is what we feel, return to, and carry within ourselves.
I have grown in a Mithila household. I've been very closely connected to the Mithila culture. I have been seeing Mr. Suman's exhibitions since a long time, and this is one of the third or fourth exhibition of his that I've been attending. So yeah, that I obviously know about what kind of paintings he does and what time does he conducts these exhibitions. So this is exactly how I found that he was gonna do an exhibition this year as well.
Has a similar sort of providing blessing sort of artwork in the form of like a lakudwa, which like exists in a door frame. So what he's done in that specific piece is behind a lakudwa is a cobra painting, so like a wedding specific painting. So he's combined these two cultures as part of his, and it's part of his own narrative because he moved from Janakpur to Nepal, so that's what he was trying to convey, the mixing of these two cultures. So yeah, I think the mixing and, you know, like venturing out of your own home place, which is very common these days, and traveling and seeing the world, I think that's, I think the contemporary connection.
Behind every exhibition is a vision that guides how artworks converse with space and audience. Curator Sangeeta Thapa has been a key voice in shaping Nepal's modern and contemporary art landscape.
His first exhibition, Mithila Cosmos, began in 2007, and what we have been seeing is that he is really celebrating the art forms of the Mithila world, along with the myths and legends of the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, and this is something that we see all throughout the different editions of the Mithila Cosmos journey that he has with the Siddharth Art Gallery. This is his 7th show, and we decided to call it Journey of a Pilgrim because the piety in the exhibition is very apparent, and his knowledge of the Ramayana or the Mahabharata, the myths and legends that we have grown up listening to and learning about, you know, become central to his work. But Sumanji is also talking not only about Mithila art, he's from the Tarai, so he brings in elements from Tharu, Dusad, Salish, different forms of art form from indigenous communities in the Tarai, and he amalgamates it and he really makes it his own. Perhaps the most significant work in this show is called Samudra Manthan, and if you know, this is a story which has been visually narrated by so many artists, from Raja Ravi Varma to early 19th century engravings, but he has, you know, even amalgamated a Hakusai wave into this art form. So that is a really famous painting, The Wave, and you can see that influence has permeated his wave, his painting. Sumanjiko themes are not only religious. So whether it is the eco-anxiety that we all feel at present, the destruction of Nizgar forest or the Chure hills, he amalgamates all of that. During COVID, he had a specific work which he, you know, asked the question, why were bats blamed for spreading COVID in the world? I mean, was the virus man-made? So his belief in nature, the natural cosmology of the world, is something that you will see over and over again in his paintings.
As visitors step out, the colors remain. In imagination, in reflection, and perhaps in rediscovering where heritage meets the present.
a reflection of biodiversity along with nature and culture. A view of the silver-like shining mountain range right before your eyes. A chronicle of the rituals and traditions of Kirati people from creation to civilization and the present day. A unique tourist trail in Nepal, filled with natural beauty, the Mundum Trail. Mundum Trail is a uniquely identified trekking route in Nepal, filled with natural beauty. The trail is an excellent tourist destination for trekkers who want to enjoy the culture and traditions of various ethnic groups while observing natural beauty. The Mundum Trail was identified as a new trekking route with the aim of promoting tourism in Khotang, Bhojpur, Sangkhwa Sabha and Solukhumbu regions of eastern Nepal. The specialty of the Mundum Trail is trekking while observing the tall mountain ranges, high hills and beautiful views of the flat plains of Tarai. Since it is connected to the culture of the Kirati people, this trail is named after the Mundum rites of Kirat Rais. Various structures reflecting the culture and traditions of the Kirat Rais built around the trail. Large grassy meadows and yaks and sheep herds raised by local herdsmen highlight the speciality of the trek. Dishes reflecting the identity of ethnic groups like Kirat Rai, Sherpa, Tamang and others, local organic food produced by herdsmen, various types of vegetation and precious herbs can be found during the Mundum trek. The trail is a total of 107 kilometers long. Both domestic and international visitors say the rivers originating from Mahabharat mountain range, forests covered in rhododendrons, rare and endangered wildlife and plants, and animal husbandry by hard-working farmers captivates their hearts. The Mundum Trail, where one can trek through the hills with the world's highest peak, Mount Everest, at its head, is a precious gift from nature. It's a trek where one can escape the heat of the Tarai, enjoy natural beauty, reveling in the sweet sounds of birds and connecting with endangered plants, making the experience all unique. As there is heavy snowfall in winter, the number of tourists trekking and playing in the snow along the Mundum Trail witnesses a surge every season. The Mundum Trail is connected to religion, culture, rituals and lifestyle of entire Kirat community. Mundum itself means the Kirat culture, rituals and the daily life of Kirati people or Kirat knowledge. And the concept of Mundum Trail is also about introducing the culture, lifestyle and history of the Kirati people to the world, familiarizing them with the community. The journey along the trail, which spreads through uphills and downhills, offers close-up views of more than 24 beautiful mountain ranges. That includes Nuptse, Everest, Lhotse, Makalu, Kanchenjunga and Kumbhakarna. They all delight every traveler. The Mundum trek starts from Dawa Bhanjang in Diktel, Sakaila rural municipality of Khotang, and Bhojpur Bazar in Bhojpur. Most tourists start their journey on this trail from Chakhewa Bhanjang in Temki rural municipality, Bhojpur. The trek starting from Chakhewa Bhanjang is a gift of biodiversity, culture and nature. The trail is also a tourist area listed among the 100 must-visit destinations selected by the government of Nepal. Temki Dada is an excellent tourist destination near the starting point of the Mundum Trail. It lies on the border of Bhojpur and Khotang. It is located at an altitude of about 3,032 meters above sea level and is a flat plateau on top of a single hill. The history of Temki Dada is also linked to Kirati civilization. Temki Dada is a habitat for various species of trees like jamb, rhododendron and chimal, as well as endangered wildlife such as Red Panda, Ghorol and Thar. Various places in Koshi province can be clearly seen from Temke Dada. From here, one can have a panoramic view of dozens of mountain ranges, including the world's highest peak, Mount Everest, Makalu, Kanchenjunga and Gauri Shankar. Apart from that, from Temke Dada, one can watch the sunrise and sunset. And when the weather is clear, one can even see the cities of Sikkim, Darjeeling, Kalimpong, Siliguri in India and cities in Bhutan. The Kirati people perform special worship on full moons of Baisakh. In this area, precious herbs, locally called Chiraito, Majito, Thulo Okhate, Pakhanbed, Nagbeli, Ban Karela, Muse Karela and Satua are found in abundance. Another major attraction of Temke Dada is the rhododendron. During blooming season, the forest in this area becomes vibrant red with fully bloomed flowers. After a hike and exploration of Temke Hill, surrounded by beautiful nature, one reaches Dhotre Deorali in about 6 hours. During the journey to Dhodri, trekkers enjoy nature's embrace, marvel at various rock formations and relish the trek while connecting with the high hills. At Dhotre Deorali, there are arrangements for food and lodging for tourists. Leaving Dhotri and moving forward on the trek, various structures have been built targeting the culture and traditions of Kirati people to attract tourists. The Mundum Trail's construction began with a 35% investment from Koshi provincial government, 35% from Swiss government and 30% from the local government. Along this entire trail, rest stops, drinking water taps and stone platforms have been built for tourists. 15 ponds in the shape of a chindo, which is a traditional Rai vessel reflecting Kirat Rai culture, have also been constructed. This is a place where shamans have walked, a place of tantric power and an extremely scenic area. Mundum is the name of a Kirat scripture. The trail is named after this sacred name. This trail, which integrates various aspects of Kirati civilization, culture, history and life from Silichung to Mayung and then to Temke, and from Temke to Kualung and Tuachung, proceeds along the ridge of Mahabharat mountain range. Another special beauty of the Mundum Trail is Has Pokhari. Located at an altitude of 3,333 meters above sea level, Has Pokhari is a special destination that should not be missed during the trek. At the edge of Has Pokhari, a statue of Sumnima and Paruhang has been erected. According to Kirat Mundum, Sumnima and Paruhang are the creators of this universe. The gentle fragrance of various species of flowers blooming in the grassy meadows captivates every tourist visiting Has Pokhari. The rhododendrons that bloom in season in the Has Pokhari area make one feel like staying in the vicinity of the pond forever. During their journey to Has Pokhari, travelers can observe at least 16 species of rhododendrons that bloom during the spring season. Another important destination of the Mundum Trail is Mayung Dada. Located in Temke Mayung Rural Municipality of Bhojpur, Mayung Dada is a beautiful place with tourism potential. The journey to Mayung Dada, which is at an altitude of about 3,600 meters above sea level, takes place through the middle of a very smooth meadow. During this journey, any tourist with the melodious sound of music wishes to be immersed in the glory of beautiful nature, even if for a short while.
The Mayung area is also a special observation point for horses. The attraction of horses roaming freely under the open sky is another unmissable feature of Mayung Dada. The Mayung area, which is connected to the neighboring district of Khotang, has a balanced climate, not as cold as the Himalayas, nor as hot as the Tarai. The Mayung area is also a habitat for the globally endangered red panda. During the Mayung journey, adorned with biodiversity and nature, one can enjoy the rhododendrons that bloom vibrantly across the hillsides in the spring. One can sit on various mystical hills and move forward with the cool breeze, mountain views, and by cherishing the natural beauty in their heart and soul. The blooming chap, rhododendron and sunakari flowers in the months of Falgun, Chaitra and Baisakh captivate the hearts of tourists. The ever-changing weather and the view of the mountain range right before the eyes can make one feel a heavenly bliss on earth when one steps on Mayung Dada. From Mayung Dada, most of the hilly districts of eastern Nepal, as well as the high hill plains and villages of Nepal and India, look as if they are in the palm of one's hand, making one want to keep watching. When the crimson rays of early morning sun touch the mountains on the other side, the joy of kissing the heights is immeasurable. From Mayung Dada, one can also view more than 24 beautiful Himalayan peaks. This includes Charbate, Mera Peak, Nuptse, Everest, Lhotse, Lhotse Sar, Makalu, Kanchenjunga and Kumbhakarna. Travelers say is less tiring and also does not give one altitude sickness. The trail located in the Mayung region is considered excellent, given the Laliguras trail of the TMJ region or the Tinjure, Milke, Jaljale area and the Khapta trail of the west. On the Mundum trek, after passing through Chakhewa Bhanjang, Mayung Dada has Pokhari, Satobato, Laure Bhir, Rawathap and Salpa Bhanjang. On the fourth day of the journey, one reaches the famous pilgrimage site Salpa Pokhari. Salpa Pokhari is situated at an altitude of 3,400 meters above sea level and is considered by the Kirati people as their ancestral place of origin. Kirati people hold a belief that one must visit Salpa Pokhari at least once in their lifetime. Hence, during Udholi and Ubholi full moons, many pilgrims visit Salpa Pokhari, a place filled with religious faith and natural beauty. Salpa Pokhari, known as the confluence of 4 districts, Khotang, Solukhumbu, Bhojpur and Sankhua Sabha, is a place of natural beauty. Salpa Pokhari is located in Dobhani village of Salpa Silichung rural municipality in Bhojpur. It can be reached via the Mundum trail, passing through Dikdel in Khotang, Lal Kharkal and Mayung Dada. However, there are other routes to reach Salpa Pokhari as well. It is said that Tenzing Norgay Sherpa and Edmund Hillary used the route through Salpa Pokhari during their first ascent of Mount Everest. Salpa Pokhari is also a multi-religious center of faith. As apart from Kiratis, various ethnic groups, including Hindus and Buddhists, hold fairs at this place 4 times a year. There is a religious belief that people who are born unable to speak can start speaking after being dipped in the waters of this pond, and childless couples are blessed with children after visiting Salpa Pokhari. Silichung Dada with Salpa Pokhari as its base camp is an important destination for tourists trekking the Mundum Trail. Tourists who reach Salpa often make a return trip to the summit of Silichung Dada, which stands at an altitude of 4,100 meters. Specially considered a significant center of religious faith for the Kirati people, from the Silichung peak one can easily view the Himalayan range as well as the flat plains of the Tarai. From Silichung, 6 Himalayan peaks including Everest, Makalu, Kanchenjunga, Kumbhakarna and Nera Peak can be seen right before one's eyes. The Salpa Silichung Peak, the highest point in the religiously and touristically significant district of Bhojpur, is established as the tallest among Temke Dada and Moyung Dada. There is a popular belief that wishes are fulfilled after visiting and offering prayers at the peak of Silichung. Silichung Peak is located on the border of Bhojpur and Sankhwa districts. It is useful not only for anchoring one's religious faith, but also for savoring the unique blend of nature and culture. From the peak of Silichung, one can directly see Salpa Pokhari to the south and the villages of Solukhumbu, Sankhwa and Bhojpur. The valley and plains formed by the Arun River, which flows through Bhojpur and Sankhwa can be easily viewed from this area. From Silichung, one can also enjoy panoramic views of the sunrise and sunset. At sunrise, a captivating view of mist in the Arun Valley can be seen from this spot. When the weather is clear, climbing Silichung Peak brings a feeling of heavenly bliss. The Silichung area is as naturally beautiful as it is culturally significant. In recent times, Kirat, Hindu, and Buddhist followers have come to regard Silichung Peak as a common pilgrimage site. A large number of shamans gather here during the full moons of Bhadra, Kartik, and Baisakh. Shamans in particular ascend Silichung to gain power and knowledge. The fragrance of the extremely aromatic bhairung, sunpati, and other fragrant herbs and flowers found around Silichung makes the stay there even more pleasant. There is a Mundum myth that Kirati people gain power from this area, envisioning it as the place where the world was created, starting from the hearth, the main pillar, the main door, the eaves, the flower garden, the resting place, and the final water source, while praying to their ancestors for divine power. Upon reaching this point, the Mundum trek can be considered complete for the time being. The Mundum Trail is an excellent destination for tourists who want to get close to the Himalayas and enjoy their beauty. The hundreds of types of flowers and birds seen during the Mundum trek make the journey even more interesting. The path is completely covered with the national flower rhododendron in various colors. Being a confluence of nature, culture, and Kirati civilization, tourists get to taste a sweet flavor during the Mundum trek. People of all age groups can undertake this trek. On both sides of the trail, the language, religion, rituals, and culture, as well as the lifestyle of 10 different Kirati-speaking Rai groups are vibrant. This region contains descriptions of the Kirati people from their creation to their civilization, their migration, various activities and rituals and traditions from birth to death. During this journey, one can truly feel a spiritual connection with their ancestors and with those who have passed. Locals have added new dimensions of tourism to the Mundum Trail. Along with homestays, one can also experience goat stays, which is staying in a herder's shed during the Mundum trek. Local herders warmly welcome the trekkers. This trail of indigenous civilization has recently emerged in the tourism world as a top cultural destination. Therefore, developing the Mundum Trail, an exceptional confluence of nature and culture, into a model destination for recreation and study for both domestic and international visitors has become a pressing priority.
Welcome to Business World. I am Siksha Bhattrai. This week saw defense alliances deepen, trade tensions rise, Asia's growth slow, and India place a massive bet on artificial intelligence. We begin with Europe. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has strengthened defense ties with Germany, visiting a joint drone production facility and expanding military training cooperation. Beyond geopolitics, it signals a long-term shift in Europe's defense industry and strategic spending.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky began his visit to Munich with a trip to a joint Ukrainian-German drone plant alongside German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius. During the visit, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha and German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius signed an agreement to integrate Ukrainian instructors into German army training centers. They also signed 3 memorandums on joint ventures and a memorandum of understanding between the Ukrainian defense industry and Swedish group Saab. The visit coincided with the Munich Security Conference, where European leaders gathered under heavy US pressure to shore up transatlantic relations and strengthen NATO defenses.
From defense strategy to trade strategy, tensions are also rising between China and Europe. China has imposed tariffs of up to 11.7% on selected European dairy products, prompting Brussels to call the move unjustified and consider action at the World Trade Organization. The dispute underscores growing friction between two major economic powers, adding strain to global trade flows already under pressure from protectionism and supply chain realignment.
EU leaders have vowed to act boldly and quickly to bolster the European economy threatened by China and the United States as they seek to bridge the differences at a meeting in Belgium. Leaders share a common diagnosis that Europe's moribund economy needs a kickstart, but they are far from agreed on the cure. Paris and Berlin have publicly diverged on France's push to favor EU economies and for more joint debt. Although French President Emmanuel Macron and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz were keen to present a united front on Thursday, the roundtable also intended to inform policy decisions ahead of upcoming EU Council meetings and to identify consensus on how the bloc can project greater economic weight on the global stage.
And as trade tensions mount, Asia's fourth largest economy is slowing. Japan's economy grew just 0.2% in the fourth quarter, missing expectations and signaling weak domestic demand. Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi now faces the challenge of reviving growth while the Bank of Japan moves towards higher interest rates. The slowdown adds uncertainty to the broader Asian economic outlook. Japan's economy limped back to meager growth in the fourth quarter, significantly missing market expectations in a key test for Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi's government as cost of living pressures drag on confidence and domestic demand. Fresh off a sweeping election victory, Takaichi's administration is preparing to ramp up investment through targeted public spending to shore up consumption and revitalize economic growth. Monday's data brings sharp focus to the challenge at hand for policymakers at a time when the Bank of Japan has reiterated its pledge to keep raising interest rates and normalize monetary settings from years of ultra-low borrowing cost amid persistent inflation and a weak yen. Gross domestic product in the world's fourth largest economy increased an annualized 0.2% in the October-December quarter. Government data showed well short of a median estimate of a 1.6% gain. In contrast, India is accelerating investment in the technologies of tomorrow. Adani Enterprises has announced a $100 billion investment to build renewable-powered AI-ready data centers by 2035. The company says the move could generate a $250 billion AI ecosystem, positioning India as a serious contender in the global artificial intelligence race. Adani Enterprises said that the group will invest $100 billion to build renewable energy-powered AI-ready data centers by 2035 as it seeks to create the world's largest integrated data center platform and establish India as a leader in the global artificial intelligence race. The investment is expected to spur an additional $150 billion in spending over the next decade across several related industries, including sovereign cloud platforms and server manufacturing, the company said. Adani's investment will create $250 billion AI infrastructure ecosystem in India over the decade. In October, Google said it would invest $15 billion over 5 years to set up an AI data center in the southern state of Andhra Pradesh, its biggest investment in India. The conglomerate is learned to be in discussions with other major players to establish large-scale campuses as well across India. From global ambitions to regional recovery efforts, Kristalina Georgieva, head of the International Monetary Fund, visited Sri Lanka, reviewing progress on economic reforms and debt restructuring. The visit signals continued international oversight as the country rebuilds financial stability, a development closely watched across South Asia. IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva has arrived Sri Lanka to review the progress of the country's current IMF-supported program and to strengthen mutual understanding between the two parties. During her 3-day visit, the IMF chief is scheduled to meet with government authorities and key stakeholders and discuss the continuation of economic reforms and bilateral cooperation. The visit is also expected to assess fiscal consolidation targets, debt restructuring progress, and measures aimed at strengthening macroeconomic stability and climate resilience. It has also been scheduled to discuss on how the IMF supports the efforts in normalizing Sri Lanka following the aftermath of Ditwa cyclone. Meanwhile, India is facing trade tensions at home. Farmers in New Delhi have protested a new trade deal with the United States, warning tariff cuts on US goods could hurt domestic agriculture. While the government says key sectors remain protected, critics argue the agreement may reshape competitiveness and regional trade dynamics.
Farmers and trade unions rallied in New Delhi, India to oppose a recently announced trade deal with the United States, which reduces tariffs on US goods, warning that it would hurt Indian agriculture and endanger livelihoods. The unions have called the agreement a total surrender to US agribusiness, despite assurances from Prime Minister Modi that sensitive sectors like dairy and poultry remain protected. Under the deal, India will lower tariffs on US industrial and agricultural products, while the US will apply an 18% tariff on key Indian exports, including textiles, leather, and machinery.
From public finance to private innovation, legal pressure is mounting in the tech world. Chinese tech giant ByteDance faces legal action from the Walt Disney Company over alleged unauthorized use of copyrighted characters in its AI video tool. The case reflects broader tensions between AI developers and content creators as intellectual property rules struggle to keep pace with the rapid innovation. Chinese technology giant ByteDance has pledged to curb a controversial artificial intelligence video making tool following threats of legal action from Disney and complaints from other entertainment giants. In the last few days, videos made using the latest version of the app Dance have proliferated online. Many have been lauded for their realism. But the trend has also sparked alarm from several Hollywood studios that have accused the AI platform's makers of copyright infringement. On Friday, Disney sent a cease and desist letter to ByteDance, accusing it of supplying Dance with the pirated library of the studio's copyrighted characters, including those from Marvel and Star Wars. And digital platforms themselves are under legal examination. The head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, has testified in a U.S. trial examining whether social media platforms contribute to addiction among minors. The outcome could shape future regulations on algorithms, platform accountability, and child online safety.
Instagram CEO Adam Mosseri has testified in a landmark California trial, rejecting claims that social media can create clinical addiction in children. The case, which also involves YouTube, centers on allegations that platforms knowingly hooked minors for profit. The trial focuses on a young woman who joined social media as a child and later suffered severe mental harm. Mosseri's testimony sets the stage for upcoming appearances by Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg and YouTube CEO Neil Mohan.
Elsewhere, regulatory reform is also unfolding in Afghanistan's healthcare sector. Afghanistan has introduced sweeping reforms to reduce reliance on imported medicines and boost domestic production. However, rapid implementation has triggered shortages and price spikes, raising concerns about balancing regulation with humanitarian access. Afghanistan's decision to overhaul its medicine market was intended to improve quality control, strengthen regulation, and boost domestic pharmaceutical production. The authorities under the Taliban announced in November that the country would end its decades-long dependence on medicine imports from Pakistan. The move followed a series of deadly border clashes between the two neighbors, which strained trade routes and heightened political tensions. While the new policy aims to stimulate local production and reduce vulnerability to cross-border disruptions, pharmacists and healthcare providers say the abrupt restrictions have led to shortages of critical medications, price spikes, and confusion among suppliers. And finally, even love carries economic weight. Global Valentine's spending reached $29.1 billion, with more than 250 million roses produced for the occasion. Despite higher labor and transport costs, demand remains strong, proving that tradition continues to drive seasonal economic surges.
Love may be priceless, but expressing it is hitting new highs. According to National Retail Federation, total Valentine's spending is projected to reach a record $29.1 billion this year, with the average person shelling out nearly $200 to celebrate. At the heart of the frenzy is the red rose. Global production topped 250 million stems for this single day, a massive logistical feat dominated by the big three: Ecuador, Colombia, and Kenya. These nations supply nearly 80% of the world's Valentine's roses. But that romantic gesture comes with a sticker shock in 2026. Due to rising labor costs and new tariffs, a dozen roses now average about $90, a significant jump from last year. In the US alone, floral arrangements account for over $3 billion of the holiday's budget. Back home in Nepal, the business of love is blooming despite the winter chill, with an estimated demand for about 450,000 rose sticks this week alone. However, since local production struggles in the February cold, the Floriculture Association of Nepal says nearly 70% of these flowers, valued at over 56 million rupees, are imported from India to fill the gap. Consumers are feeling the pinch as prices in Kathmandu Valley have surged to 150 rupees per stem, driven by a 15% global rise in labor and transport costs. Despite the price hike, the data shows the tradition is thorny but essential, with 41% of consumers saying flowers remain their top gift choice for Valentine's Day.
And that's all for the edition of Business World for this week. From defense and trade to technology and tradition, global markets remain deeply interconnected. I am Siksha Bhatrai. Thank you for watching. Good night.
वीरताको चिनो, इतिहासको निशानी, राष्ट्र निर्माणको किल्ला। आधुनिक नेपालको निर्माणको लागि पुर्खाहरूले युद्ध लड्न विभिन्न क्षेत्रमा गढी र किल्ला निर्माण गरेका छन्। ती किल्लाहरू वर्तमानमा इतिहासका साक्षी हुन्। सम्भावित बाह्य आक्रमण रोक्न तथा दुश्मनहरूसँग मुकाबिला गर्न उपयुक्त स्थान रोजेर सैनिक कौशलको प्रयोग गरी गढी तथा किल्लाहरूको निर्माण गरिन्छ। नेपालमा रहेका करिब 200 गढीहरूको आआफ्नै विशेषता रहेको छ। बढी हात हतियार सहित दुश्मनका फौजहरू पराजित भएको यी महत्वपूर्ण गढीहरू अहिले इतिहासका प्रमाण बनेर बसेका छन्। इतिहासका विभिन्न कालखण्डहरूमा राजा महाराजाका शासन, हस्तक्षेप, आक्रमण, प्रत्याक्रमणमा सिन्धुली साक्षी भएर बसेको छ। यही साक्षीको प्रमाणिक दस्तावेजहरू र जनश्रुतिहरू नै सिन्धुलीको ऐतिहासिक वैभव हो। सिन्धुली जिल्लाको पश्चिमी भेग तथा हालको हरिहरपुर गढी गाउँपालिकामा पर्ने यो गढी 13औं शताब्दीमा निर्माण भएको इतिहास छ। मकवानपुर र काभ्रेपलाञ्चोक जिल्लाको सिमाना नजिक रहेको यो गढी राजधानी काठमाडौँको रक्षा कवचको रूपमा लिन सकिन्छ। मकवानपुरी सेन राजाको मूल दरबार मकवानपुरमा थियो भने सहायक दरबार अर्थात किल्लाको रूपमा हरिहरपुर गढीलाई लिने गरिन्थ्यो। 2200 राजाको भाषामा ती दुवै कोटहरू हुन् जहाँ मकवानपुरे राजा बेला बेलामा गएर बस्दै गर्दथे।
सेन राजाको वैकल्पिक दरबार कोट हरिहरपुर गढी, हरिहरपुर कोट हो त्यो। हामी गढी भनिरहेका छौँ। यो पछि हामी राजाको अस्थायी मुकाम हुनलाई जहाँ राजा गएर अस्थायी रूपमा बस्छन् र यदि मेन राजधानी मकवानपुरमा राजदरबारमा कसैले हमला गर्यो, केही गर्यो भने वैकल्पिक कहीँ त गएर बस्नु पर्यो, फेरि लड्नु पर्यो भनेपछि यस्तो स्थितिमा राजाहरूले ठाउँ ठाउँमा कोटहरू बनाउँछन्। सेन राजाहरूको पनि आफ्नो राज्यभित्र विभिन्न ठाउँ उनीहरूले कोट बनाउँथे जहाँ दरबारमा गएर राजा 4 दिन बस्थे, 4 वर्ष बस्थे, 4 महिना बस्थे भन्दा यो हरिहर इन्द्र सेन राजाले बनाएको यो चाहिँ अर्को एउटा वैकल्पिक मुकाम थियो राजा बस्ने। र पछि नेपाल एकीकरणको युद्धमा पृथ्वीनारायण शाहले 1819 विक्रम सम्वतमा मकवानपुरको दरबारमा हमला गरिसकेपछि अन्तिम राजा पृथ्वीनारायण शाहका जेठान दिग्बन्धन सेन, उनका मन्त्री कनकनीति बानिया यी लगायत उनका श्रीमतीहरू अब गोर्खालीले हमला गर्छ भन्ने कुरा उनीहरू थाहा थियो। अनि राजाका अब रानीहरू, छोरीहरू, महिला, केटाकेटीलाई पहिला नै हरिहरपुर गढी पठाइसकेका थियो, हरिहरपुर दरबार कोटमा पठाइसकेका थियो।
हरिहरपुर गढी वरिपरि सेना बस्ने ब्यारेक, देवी देवताका साना ठूला मन्दिरहरू र अलि तलतिर बाक्लै बस्तीहरू थिए भन्ने इतिहास सुन्न पाइन्छ। एक थरीको इतिहास अनुसार राजाहरू लोहङ सेन, राघव सेन, हरिहर इन्द्र सेनले यो कोट बनाए उनकै नामबाट हरिहरपुर कोट नाम राखिएको थियो भन्ने समेत सुन्न पाइन्छ। अर्का थरी अनुसार सोही समयमा सिम्रोनगढका राजा हरिसिंह देव थिए। उनले यो गढी निर्माण गर्न लगाएकोले यो गढीको नाम हरिहरपुर गढी रहन गएको भन्ने भनाइरहेको छ। तत्कालीन सिम्रोनगढ राज्यका कला, संस्कृति तथा अन्य भौतिक सम्पन्नताले निकै वैभवशाली भएको पाइन्छ। विक्रम सम्वत 1381 मा सिम्रोनगढका राजा हरिसिंह देव थिए। यी राजा ठाकुर वंशका थिए। विक्रम सम्वत 1381 मा दिल्लीका मुसलमान गयासुद्दिन तुगलकले यस सिम्रोनगढ राज्यमा भीषण आक्रमण गरेको थियो। आक्रमणमा राज्य ध्वस्त बनाइएपछि राजा हरिसिंह देव आफ्नी रानी देवल देवी तथा राजकुमार र विद्वान मन्त्री चण्डेश्वर सहित भागेर नजिकैको पहाडमा लुकेर बसेको र आफ्नो राज्य जोगाउन सफल भएको इतिहास सुन्न पाइन्छ। सिन्धुली जिल्लाको 3 पाटन भन्ने स्थानमा हरिसिंह देवको मृत्यु भएको कुरा इतिहासकारहरू बताउँछन्। इतिहासकार लुजियानो पेटेकले हरिसिंह देवको मृत्यु टिपाट भन्ने स्थानमा पुगेर भएको भनेका छन्। यो टिपाट भन्ने स्थान नै हालको 3 पाटन हो। राजा हरिसिंह देवले सुरक्षित रहन बनाएको भएर यो किल्लालाई हरिसिंहपुर गढीको नामले चिनिन गएको एक थरीको भनाइ रहिआएको छ। राजा हरिसिंह देवले मन्त्री चण्डेश्वरको सल्लाह बमोजिम त्यही स्थानमा सानो किल्ला बनाई रहन थाले। पछि सिम्रोनगढका विद्वानहरू, साधुहरू, कलाकारहरू, कालीगढहरू पनि हरिसिंह देव भएकै ठाउँमा रहन थाल्नाले हरिसिंह देवले स्थापना गरेको त्यो सानो किल्ला एउटा राज्यको रूप लिने अवस्थामा पुग्यो। पछि यो किल्लालाई राजा हरिसिंह देवकै नामबाट हरिहरपुर गढी भनेर चिनिन थालिएको हो। पछि पश्चिम नेपाल तर्फबाट मुकुन्द सेन नाम गरेको योद्धाले ठूलो फौजको नेतृत्व गरेर हरिहरपुर गढी कब्जा गरेका थिए। पछि ती मुकुन्द सेनले आफ्नै नामबाट राजधानी मुकुन्दपुर बनाए शासन सञ्चालन गर्न थाले। तत्कालीन मुकुन्दपुर राज्यको नामबाट नै हालको मकवानपुर नाम रहन गएको हो।
अब यो कसले बनायो भन्ने कुरामा दुईटा कुराहरू छ। एउटा चाहिँ सिम्रौनगढका राजा कर्णाट वंशी राजा हरिहर सिंहदेवले बनाएको हो भन्छन्। अब यो यदि हरिहर सिंहदेवले बनाएको हो भने यसको यो गढीको उमेर चाहिँ चान्चुन 650 वर्ष जति भयो र त्यसो नहुँदाखेरि यो मकवानपुर राज्यका राजा हरिहर सेनले बनाएको हो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ हरिहर सेनले बनाएको गढी चाहिँ बढ्दा चाहिँ त्यो ऊ देखिन्छ, प्रमाणित देखिन्छ। किनभने तपाईँले मकवानपुर गढीको रूप त्यसपछि तपाईँले चाहिँ यो हरिहरपुर गढीको रूप हेर्नुभयो भनेदेखि यो चाहिँ अलमोस्ट एउटै छ। भनेपछि मकवानपुर त हरिहर सेन राजाको हो, हरिहरपुर गढीमा पनि त्यस्तै किसिमको गढी बन्नुको मतलब चाहिँ के छ भने यो एउटै राजाले निर्माण एउटै राजाको पालामा एउटै कालीगढीले बनाएको हो भन्ने कुरो चाहिँ प्रमाणित हुन्छ। त्यसो हुनाले हामी चाहिँ हरिहर सेनले बनाएको भन्ने मान्छौँ। हरिहरपुर गढी एकदम कलात्मक छ किनभने गढीको दुईटा विशेषता हुन्छ। एउटा रम्पार्ट हुन्छ, एउटा मोट भन्छ क्या, दुईटा अङ्ग्रेजी हुन्। रम्पार्ट भनेको चाहिँ गढीबाट माथिबाट शत्रुहरूको गतिविधि हेर्ने रम्पार्ट भयो। अब मोट चाहिँ कस्तो हुन्छ भनेदेखि शत्रुहरूलाई चाहिँ सर्टेन ठाउँभित्र आउन नदिनको लागि चाहिँ खाल्टो खनिन्छ वरिपरि है। त्यो दुई खाले गढी हुन्छ। यो हरिहरपुर गढी चाहिँ तपाईँलाई दुईटै छ, यो रम्पार्ट पनि हो र यो मोट पनि हो। यो चारैतिर पोलिगोनमा धेरैवटा चाहिँ भुजा भएको जस्तो चाहिँ एउटा ठुलो स्पेस छ। त्यो स्पेसको चाहिँ साइडमा चाहिँ मोटहरू भनेको खाडीहरू खनिएको छ र त्यो खाडीमा अहिले तपाईँले हेर्नुभयो भनेदेखि त्यो खाडीमा पानी भरिदिइसकेपछि र त्यो खाडीको बिचको पुल हटाइदिइसकेपछि शत्रुहरू चाहिँ मेन त्यो गर्भगृहमा चाहिँ त्यो मेन त्यही ठाउँमा चाहिँ त्यो अलि रणनीतिक हिसाबले महत्त्वपूर्ण ठाउँमा चाहिँ त्यो आउन नसक्ने गरी बनाएको छ।
नेपाल एकीकरणका अभियानमा राजा पृथ्वीनारायण शाहले सिन्धुली गढी सँगसँगै हरिहरपुर गढीमा 300 बढी गोर्खा फौजलाई तैनाथ गरिएको समेत इतिहास रहिआएको छ। गोर्खाली राजा पृथ्वीनारायण शाहको नेतृत्व र उपस्थितिमा विक्रम सम्वत 1819 पुस 22 गते भएको एकीकरण लडाईँमा यो गढी तत्कालीन गोर्खा राज्यमा एकीकृत भयो। यसैगरी चितवनको परेवा कोट गढीमा पनि नेपाली सेनाको अर्को टोलीले हमला गरी विजय हासिल गरेको थियो। सन् 1767 मा काठमाडौँमा लडाईँ गर्न आएको ब्रिटिस सेनालाई तत्कालीन गोर्खाली सेनाले सिन्धुली गढीमा परास्त गरेर भारत तर्फ फर्काएको थियो। गोर्खाली सेना र ब्रिटिस सेना बीच भएको त्यो लडाईँ गोर्खाली सेनाको विजयको रूपमा स्थापित हुन पुग्यो।
राति चाहिँ यो एक खालको ह्युमिलेसन हो, यो एक खालको चाहिँ यो चाहिँ अपमान गरेको हो। तपाईँलाई दरबारमै दिनुपर्छ, यो सहायक दरबारमा यति पर ल्याएर यो हरिहरपुर गढीमा राख्नुको मतलब चाहिँ तपाईँमाथि अपमान हो भनिसकेपछि पृथ्वीनारायण शाह चाहिँ त्यहीँबाट चाहिँ एकदम चाहिँ उनीहरूको कुरा सुनिसकेपछि त्यहीँबाट रिसाएर निस्किए होइन। निस्किएपछि वास्तवमा उनमा चाहिँ त्यो अब म यो मकवानपुर राज्यलाई पनि मैले कुनै पनि बेला मैले एकीकरणमा म यसलाई चाहिँ म आफ्नै गोर्खाभित्रै म मिसाउँछु भन्ने उनले अठोट गरे। तर त्यतिखेर बडा त्यो भद्र राजा हुनुहुन्थ्यो, उहाँको ससुरा हेमकर्ण सेन हुनुहुन्थ्यो होइन। अब हेमकर्ण सेन हुँदै त उहाँले केही गर्न सक्नु भएन। तर पछाडि दिग्बन्धन सेन राजा भइसकेपछि विक्रम सम्वत 1819 मा चाहिँ त्यो मकवानपुर राज्य चाहिँ एकीकरण भयो, गोर्खामा एकीकरण भयो। र गोर्खामा पनि एकीकरण हुँदा पनि अहिले तपाईँले जहाँ छायाङ्कन गर्न गइरहनु भएको छ त्यो हरिहरपुर गढीको एकदम ठुलो भूमिका छ। त्यहाँबाट मकवानपुर राज्यबाट भागेर तत्कालीन राजा र भनौँ न दिग्बन्धन सेन र मन्त्री कनकसिंह बानिया चाहिँ भागेर हरिहरपुर गढीमा लुकेर बसेका थिए। त्यो हरिहरपुर गढीमा पनि गोर्खाले राइड गरिसक्यो, गोर्खालीहरूले चाहिँ त्यहाँ पनि चाहिँ युद्ध गरिसकेको थियो। उनीहरू भागेर उनीहरू चाहिँ नजिकैको अवध राज्यतिर मीर कासिमसँग चाहिँ सहयोग माग्न जानुभएको थियो त्यतिखेर। भनेपछि नेपाल एकीकरण सन्दर्भमा पनि त्यो अन्तिम पटकको लडाईँ भएको ठाउँ चाहिँ त्यो हाम्रो मकवानपुर राज्यलाई जोड्ने क्रममा चाहिँ अन्तिम पटक भएको ठाउँ पनि हाम्रो हरिहरपुर गढी नै हो।
एकीकरण गर्दै अगाडि बढिरहेको गोर्खाली शक्ति विरुद्ध कान्तिपुरका राजा जयप्रकाश मल्ल विदेशी शक्तिको खोजीमा थिए। उनले बेतियामा रहेका ब्रिटिस काउन्सिलर ग्लाडिङलाई ब्रिटिश ईस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनी सरकारबाट आपतकालीन सहायताको लागि आग्रह गरे। गोर्खाली राजा पृथ्वीनारायण शाहले नेपालको आन्तरिक मामिला भएको र यसमा बाह्य हस्तक्षेप नगर्न चिठी लेखे, तर कम्पनी तर्फको सरकारले पृथ्वी नारायणको आग्रहलाई अस्वीकार गर्दै कप्तान जर्ज किनलकको नेतृत्वमा 2400 सेना तथा सहयोगी समूहका साथ नेपाल आक्रमणको लागि ब्रिटिश ईस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनी सरकारले खटाएको भनाई इतिहासमा भेटिन्छ। किनलक पटनाबाट 17 अगस्त 1967 मा हिँडे, तर जब उनीहरू ढुङ्ग्रे बासबाट सिन्धुली गढीको लागि अघि बढ्दै थिए, नेपाली सैन्य टोलीहरूले अगाडि र पछाडि दुवैतिरबाट आकस्मिक आक्रमण गरे। किनलकका थुप्रै सेना मारिन पुगे। पछि 1600 जति घाइते सेना लिएर जनकपुरतिर फर्के र उनले अर्को आक्रमण बागमती नदीको किनारै किनार गर्ने योजना बनाए र निशान हरिहरपुर गढीलाई बनाउने निधो गरे। उनका 700 सेना घाइते थिए, तर पनि उनको दोस्रो सैनिक अभियान 20 सेप्टेम्बर सन् 1767 मा हरिहरपुर गढीका लागि सुरु भयो।
अब यो सिन्धुली गढी चाहिँ आजभन्दा 256 वर्ष अगाडि को यो इतिहास हो। यसमा चाहिँ इस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनीले चाहिँ जयप्रकाश मल्ललाई, काठमाडौँको राजा जयप्रकाश मल्ललाई मद्दतको रूपमा चाहिँ आएको थियो। त्यो बेला चाहिँ पृथ्वीनारायण शाहको चाहिँ युनिफिकेसन क्याम्पेन चलिरहेको थियो। जयप्रकाश मल्ल डराएर इस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनीसँग ट्रुस माग्यो। त्यो बेला यो ठाउँमा लडाइँ लड्दाखेरि चाहिँ नि पृथ्वीनारायण शाहले पठाउनु भएको वंश गुरुङ, वंशराज पाण्डे, श्रीभद्र उपाध्याय त्यति बेलाका कमान्डरहरू थिए। त्यो बेला 500 चान्चुन गोर्खाली फौजले 3500 4000 इस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनीको फौजले चाहिँ हराएको ठाउँ हो यो। यद्यपि त्यो समयमा इस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनी काठमाडौँ छिरेको भए आज नेपाल रहन्थ्यो रहन्थेन भन्ने कुरामा पनि प्रश्न चिन्ह रहन्छ। त्यसकारण यो गढीको चाहिँ आफ्नो इतिहास छ र त्यो बेलामा वंशराज पाण्डे मेन कमान्डर, उनले यो सबै यो ठाउँमा चाहिँ नि एउटा फल्स फ्रन्ट्रेज बनाएर यहाँ जस्तो जनावरहरूमा गाई गोरु भेडा सबैमा चाहिँ नि यो सिङहरूमा होइन ढुङ्ग्रो बालेर एउटा फल्स फ्रन्ट्रेज बनाएर देखाएको थियो। यद्यपि त्यो बेला तत्कालीन गोर्खाली फौजमा 500 चान्चुन मात्र ट्रुप्स थियो। अब त्यो बेला चाहिँ नि तिनीहरूलाई यही यो पौवा गढीबाट आक्रमण गरेर उनीहरूलाई परास्त गरे, हराए। त्यो बेला क्याप्टेन किनलोक चाहिँ नि घाइते भयो, अरिङ्गालले टोकेर भने अरू कप्तानहरू चाहिँ अन द स्पटै डेड भएको थियो। अनि त्यसलाई चाहिँ बनारसमा गएर क्याप्टेन किनलोक चाहिँ मरे भन्ने छ। उसले पनि आफ्नो क्याप्टेन किनलोकले लेखेको इतिहासहरू पनि, उसले लेखेको इतिहास पनि अब हाम्रै ठम्बेलतिर पनि त्यो किताबहरू पनि पढ्न पाइन्छ। भनेपछि यो गढीको धेरै महत्त्व छ र यद्यपि यो गढीमा गोर्खाली सेनाले हारेको भए नेपाल रहन्थ्यो रहन्थेन भन्ने चाहिँ प्रश्न चिन्ह रहेछ।
त्यहाँ ठुलो लडाइँ हुन्छ। पृथ्वीनारायण शाह आफ्नै जेठान त्यहाँ हारिसकेपछि दिग्बन्धन सिंह राजा, उनका मन्त्री फेरि र सेना त्यहाँबाट भागेर कहाँ गए त? हरिहरपुर कोटमा गए, जुन हामी गढी भनिरहेको छौँ। त्यहाँ 4-5 महिना बसिसकेपछि मात्रै अनि पृथ्वीनारायण शाहले फेरि यताबाट तपाईँको यो धुलीखेलपट्टिबाट यो चाहिँ यो तिमाल कोट तिमाल भन्ने तपाईँले सुन्नुभएको छ। तिमाल कोट तिमाल हामी भकुण्डेबेसीबाट पूर्वतिर लाग्यौँ भने एउटा बाटो जान्छ, त्यसलाई तिमाल कोट पनि भन्छ, कोठिमाल पनि। त्यहाँ ठुलो लडाइँ हुन्छ, त्यहाँ धेरै 1 महिना लडाइँ हुन्छ त्यो जित्नलाई। त्यसपछि सिन्धुली गढीमा लडाइँ हुन्छ हाम्रो 2 चोटि। आज सिन्धुली गढीकोमा जित्छ, 3 दिनपछि फेरि उसको सेनाले फेरि हराउँछ गोर्खाले। पृथ्वीनारायण शाह आफै लड्छन् त्यसपछि आएर 3 दिनपछि आएर त्यो सिन्धुली गढी जिते। त्यसको 2 दिनपछि त्यहाँबाट हरिहरपुर गरेको दरबार पुग्छन् उनी कोटमा। पृथ्वीनारायण शाह आफू अगाडि बसेर हरिहरपुरमा ठुलो लडाइँ हुन्छ र हरिहरपुरको लडाइँमा अब हार्यो, फेरि मकवानपुर सेना हार्यो, राजा भागे, खोडाघाटपट्टि भागे।
किनलक सहितको फौजलाई खाद्यान्नको जिम्मा लिएका जनकपुरका दानदेव चौधरीले समेत गोर्खाली फौजलाई साथ दिएपछि बिरामी परेका किनलक पटना फर्के र उतै देहत्याग गरेको इतिहास रहिआएको छ। यो हरिहरपुर गढीमा मकवानपुरका युवराजसँग खटपट भएको करिब 23 वर्षपछि सोही स्थानमा नै विशाल मकवानपुर राज्यले गोर्खा फौजसँग हार खायो। यसरी नेपालको एकीकरणको अभियानलाई सिन्धुलीको हरिहरपुर गढी क्षेत्रले ठूलो योगदान गरेको इतिहास अझै जीवित रहेको छ। नेपाल अंग्रेज युद्धको दोस्रो चरणमा मेजर जनरल डेभिड अक्टर लोनीको डिभिजनले हरिहरपुर गढी र मकवानपुर दरबार क्षेत्र 2 ठाउँबाट हमला गर्न अगाडि बढेकोमा यो गढीमा पहिला लडाईँ सुरु भएको थियो। अंग्रेज कर्नेलहरू कर्नेल केली र कर्नेल होलले 16 फेब्रुअरी सन् 1915 मा 2 तिरबाट यो गढीमा हमला गर्दा नेपाली सेनाको हार भयो। यो लडाईँ नेपालीले हार्ना साथ नेपालले सुगौली सन्धि गर्न प्रस्ताव पठायो र 2 डिसेम्बर सन् 1816 मा सुगौली सन्धि भयो। त्यसपछि नेपाल अंग्रेज युद्ध अन्त भएको थियो। नेपाल अंग्रेज युद्धको यो अन्तिम लडाईँ समेत थियो। तोप प्रहारको उद्देश्य राखी तयार पारिएको गढीको मध्यभागमा दरबार रहेको छ। आपतकालीन अवस्थाको लागि पानी सञ्चित गर्न बनाइएको ट्याङ्की समेत प्रष्टै देख्न सकिन्छ।
त्यहाँ चाहिँ ठुल्ठुला ढुङ्गाका चाहिँ शिलाहरू कुदेर हैन, त्यो ढुङ्गा तपाईँ यत्रतत्र तपाईँले पाउनुहुन्न। त्यहाँ चाहिँ हजारको संख्यामा त्यस्ता ढुङ्गाहरू छन्। त्यो ढुङ्गालाई चाहिँ कुदेर मिलाएर एकदम राम्रोसँग पर्खाल बनाएको छ। अत्यन्त प्रोटेक्टिभ वाल त्यहाँको तपाईँले हेर्नुभयो भनेदेखि त्यो चाहिँ एकदम त्यो अहिले पनि मलाई अहिलेको मिलिटरी चान्चुने मिलिटरी आक्रमणबाट पनि त्यो केही हुने वाला छैन, त्यस्तो किसिमको छ। र खास गरी अब त्यहाँ चाहिँ सिन्धुली गढीमा चाहिँ यो जब इस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनीको सेना हारिसकेपछि क्याप्टेन किनलोकले हरिहरपुर गढीबाट चाहिँ काठमाडौँतिर जान्छु भनेर हरिहरपुर गढीतिर गए। त्यसपछि हाम्रो चाहिँ जङ्गबहादुरको चाहिँ जिजु हजुरबाको पनि हजुरबा चाहिँ रामकृष्ण कुँवरको तैनाथीमा चाहिँ 300-400 गोर्खाली फौजहरू चाहिँ लगेर त्यहाँ एउटा चाहिँ जितपुर भन्ने ठाउँ छ, जितपुरको डाँडामा चाहिँ राखिसकेका थिए। क्याप्टेन किनलोक चाहिँ काठमाडौँ पस्नको लागि हरिहरपुर गढीमा रात बिताए। त्यतिखेर उनी धेरै बिरामी भइसकेका थिए। हरिहरपुर गढीमै फेरि त्यहाँ एउटा शक्ति छ। हरिहरपुर गढीमै पनि त्यो इस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनीका सेनाहरू बिच चाहिँ विद्रोह भयो। आफू बिरामी पनि भए, यता सेनाको पनि विद्रोह भइसकेको थियो। उनले अनि काठमाडौँ जानको लागि बाटोमा रामकृष्ण कुँवरको नेतृत्वमा गोर्खाली फौज पनि भइसकेको थिए। उनी हतोत्साही भइसकेको थिए। त्यहाँबाट उनले चाहिँ के गरे, काठमाडौँ जानलाई चाहिँ उनले चाहिँ त्यहाँबाट छोडे, काठमाडौँ जान सकेनन्। त्यसपछि फर्किएर आए र त्यो फर्किएर आएको हरिहरपुर गढीबाट जब त्यो क्याप्टेन इस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनीको सेना फर्कियो, त्यो फर्किँदा फेरि तर त्यतिखेर ढिलो चाँडो चाहिँ ब्रिटिस इस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनी चाहिँ हारेको कुरो अमेरिकी स्वतन्त्रता सङ्ग्राममा पनि त्यो कुरो चाहिँ रिफ्लेक्ट भयो।
गढी प्रवेशद्वारमा अहिले काठको पुल जस्तो भए पनि गढी सञ्चालनको बेला यसमा फलामको ढोका रहेको थियो। ढोका खुल्दा सोही ढोका नै पुल बनेर आवत जावत गर्न सकिन्थ्यो भने ढोका बन्द हुँदा सो बाटो बन्द हुन्थ्यो र आवत जावत गर्न सकिँदैन थियो। मकवानपुरको राजाको वैकल्पिक गढीको रूपमा चिनिने हरिहरपुर गढी किल्ला संरक्षणमा राज्यले समेत चासो देखाएको छ। हरिहरपुर गढी नेपाल र नेपालीका लागि गौरव र प्रतिष्ठाको धुरी हो। दुश्मनले पाइला टेक्न खोज्दा गोर्खाली सेनाले शिर छेदन गरी विजय प्राप्त गरेको इतिहास अझै जीवित नै छ। रणनीतिक महत्व बोकेका यी गढी अनि ऐतिहासिक सैन्य धरोहरमा त्यतिखेर कोरेर बनाइएका ढुङ्गाहरू मूर्तिहरू देख्न सकिन्छ। पुरातात्विक महत्व बोकेको यो गढीको करिब 80% प्रतिशत भाग सुरक्षित रहेको देख्न सकिन्छ।
गढी देख्ने बित्तिकै कुनै पनि मान्छेले नेपालको राजनीति, नेपालको सामाजिक एकीकरणका कुराहरूलाई त्यो आफूलाई त्यति रुचि नराख्ने मान्छे पनि यदि त्यो ठाउँमा गएर त्यो स्ट्रक्चर देख्यो भनेदेखि उसले चाहिँ एकपल्ट आफूलाई रिकल गर्छ। मेरो पुर्खाहरूले बिना सित्तीमा बिना चाहिँ त्यो स्वार्थमा राष्ट्रको लागि यसरी गरेका रहेछन्। राष्ट्रसँग त राज्यसँग त त्यतिखेर पनि चुनौती त रहेछ। त्यो चुनौती चाहिँ कुनै अलौकिक शक्तिले, कुनै विदेशी शक्तिले चाहिँ त्यो सामना गर्दैन। त्यो सामना गर्नुपर्ने चाहिँ त्यही व्यक्ति नै रहेछ, त्यही देशको सब्जेक्ट नै रहेछ, त्यही देशको जनता नै रहेछ भनेपछि मेरो पुर्खाले पनि यति कुरो चाहिँ, हाम्रो पुर्खाले पनि यति कुरा यत्रो चाहिँ स्ट्रक्चर बनाउन सक्दा रहेछन् भने हाम्रो योगदान त केही पनि रहन्छ अहिले राष्ट्रको लागि, राष्ट्र निर्माणको लागि भन्ने कुरो चाहिँ उसले त्यो फिलिङ गर्छ। अलिकति त्यहाँ जाने बित्तिकै उसको नेसनलिस्टिक फर्वर भन्छ नि, त्यो खालको चाहिँ उसलाई त्यो आउँछ। त्यो अहिले पनि आउँछ।
पालपाली राजा मुकुन्द सेनका छोराहरूले राज्य बाँडफाँड गर्दा छोरा लोहङ सेनले नारायणी पूर्वतर्फ राज्य बढाउँदै गएको र पछि त्यही क्षेत्रको राजा भएको इतिहास समेत रहिआएको छ। लोहङ सेनका नाति भनिने हरिहर इन्द्रसेनको नामबाट यो गढी बनाइएको हो भन्ने इतिहास समेत सुन्न पाइन्छ। यो हरिहरपुर गढीबाट राजधानी काठमाडौँ जोड्ने 2वटा बाटो रहेका छन्। काठमाडौँ जोड्ने सबैभन्दा छोटो बाटोको रूपमा यस गढीलाई लिन सकिन्छ। सेन राजाको पालामा यो गढी हुँदै चिसा पानीतर्फ गयो भने काठमाडौँको थानकोटतिर पुगिन्थ्यो भने अर्को बाटो बागमती किनार हुँदै गयो भने काठमाडौँ छोटो दूरीमा पुगिन्थ्यो। भारतबाट कान्तिपुर जोड्ने छोटो बाटोको रूपमा समेत यसलाई लिइन्थ्यो। 1819 सालमा मकवानपुरको राज्यमाथि राजा पृथ्वीनारायण शाहको नेतृत्वको फौजबाट हमला भएको इतिहासमा देख्न सकिन्छ। गोर्खाली फौजहरू हमलाबाट दिग्बन्धन सेनको हार भएको थियो। गढी संरक्षण एवं सम्वर्धनमा हरिहरपुर गढी गाउँपालिकाले पनि ध्यान दिएको पाइन्छ। सोही गढीको नामबाट नामाकरण गरिएको गाउँपालिकाले रणनीतिक इतिहास बोकेको यो किल्ला संरक्षणमा विभिन्न कार्यक्रमहरू सञ्चालन गरेको छ। यो गढीमा गाउँपालिका स्तरीय कार्यक्रम सञ्चालन गर्नुका साथै गढीको भग्नावशेष जोगाउन पूर्वाधार कार्यक्रमहरू समेत राख्दै आइरहेको छ।
यो हरिहरपुर गढी किल्ला जुन छ त्यो 2224 राज्यको पालामा एउटा किल्लाको रूपमा एउटा राजा हरिहर सेन भन्ने राजाले चाहिँ शासन गरेको अवस्था रहेछ र यो किल्लाले पछि अङ्ग्रेजहरूसँग चाहिँ लड्ने क्रममा यो किल्लाले महत्त्वपूर्ण भूमिका खेलेको रहेछ। यो सिन्धुली गढीसँगको लडाइँ पछाडि अङ्ग्रेजको क्याप्टन किन्लकको ग्रुपले फेरि यहाँ आक्रमण गरेको रहेछ। त्यो आक्रमणलाई पनि यहाँबाट विफल बनाएर पठाएको जुन विजय किल्ला भन्ने छ, त्यो विजय किल्ला चाहिँ हरिहरपुरको विजय किल्ला चाहिँ हरिहरपुरबाट प्रवेश गरिसकेपछि विजय किल्लाबाट 1 किलोमिटर माथिको चाहिँ महाभारत रेन्जमा पुगिसके पछाडि त्यहाँबाट चाहिँ धपाउन हाम्रो नेपाली सेनाहरू, गोर्खाली सेनाहरू सफल भएको। पहिले त हरिहरपुर 2224 राज्य हुँदा एउटा राज्य थियो। पछि चाहिँ एकीकृत भइसके पछाडि पनि अङ्ग्रेजहरूसँग लडाइँ लड्दाखेरि विजय प्राप्त गरेको किल्लाको रूपमा यहाँ चिनारी सुनिन्छ। विशेष गरी किल्ला हो, त्यो किल्ला चाहिँ पुरानो शासकहरूले राम्रो ठाउँमा बनाएको रहेछ। मानिलिउँ भौगोलिक रूपले चाहिँ हामीले मकानपुरलाई तलतिर मधेसको फाँटलाई र मास्तिर हिमाली महाभारतको रेन्ज, हिमालको टुप्पो देख्न सकिन्छ। जताततै चारैतिर पूर्व मेचीदेखि पश्चिम महाकाली, उत्तर दक्षिण, पूर्व पश्चिम सबै क्षेत्रमा हेर्ने एउटा टापुको रूपमा रहेछ। त्यो चाहिँ सुरक्षित स्थान हो जहाँ बैरीहरूले आक्रमण गर्न नसकिने ठाउँ हो। त्यसैले त्यो रमणीय ठाउँ छ। त्यो रमणीय ठाउँलाई हामीले संरक्षण र सम्वर्धन गरिराख्यो भने पर्यटकीय क्षेत्रको लागि धेरै ठुलो कुरा हो। यो हरिहरपुरको गौरवको स्थल हो। त्यो
काठमाडौँबाट हेटौँडा पुगेपछि हेटौँडा हुँदै मदन भण्डारी पथमा करिब 55 किलोमिटरको यात्रापछि गढी प्रवेश गर्ने सहायक बाटो भेटिन्छ। यस्तै काठमाडौँबाट सिन्धुली गढी पुगेपछि सोही
Only after 6 decades of the institutional development of the now popular game of cricket did Nepal get the opportunity to play in the World Cup. Although cricket was introduced in Nepal during the Rana regime, the sport was confined to a limited number of people, namely the elite. It all started with equipment brought by students returning from their studies in Britain and India. Although Cricket Association of Nepal (CAN) was established in 1947, cricket remained centered among a few affluent individuals and in limited tournaments for a long time. Starting with the Bishnu Trophy in 1948, tournaments were limited to competitions like the Madan Memorial Sealed, Jugal Kishore Trophy, Rammani Trophy, and later the Jai Trophy. Even as the sport expanded outside Kathmandu Valley, it took decades for cricket to develop at the grassroots level. After the International Cricket Council (ICC) granted Nepal affiliate membership in 1988, Nepali cricket embarked on its international journey. The rule of mandatory participation in tournaments by the ICC and the Asian Cricket Council (ACC) opened doors to international competition for Nepal. After participating in the Under-19 Asian tournament in Hong Kong in 1996, Nepal has not looked back. Winning titles at the Asian and global levels, Nepali cricket team continues its journey towards the pinnacle of world cricket.
Goes down the ground because he was given that line outside off stump, so the first boundary of the contest, a handsome one.
Initially confined to Turikhel in Kathmandu, many international tournaments were hosted in Nepal after an international standard ground was built in Kirtipur. Nepal has also shown its proactiveness in differently abled cricket tournaments like the T20 World Cup for the blind in 2012 and the Asian Cricket Tournament for the deaf. Nepali women's national cricket team has also achieved remarkable success in a short period of time. The latest addition in Nepali cricket is the floodlit Tribhuvan University Cricket Stadium and the Nepal Premier League that has provided opportunity for Nepali players to rub shoulders with world-class players.
For centuries, the Kumail community of Nepal has lived closely tied to the earth, shaping clay, cultivating land, and sustaining a cultural identity rooted in indigenous skill, craft, and tradition. Recognized as one of Nepal's marginalized indigenous nationalities, the Kumails traditionally settle in the hilly regions and inner Tarai plains. Cultural practices and oral histories indicate that they have been part of Nepal's civilization since ancient times. As inhabitants of Nepal's fertile river valleys and plains, the Kumails have carried forward a deep-rooted tradition of earthenware craftsmanship, agriculture, and a rich cultural heritage that reflects centuries of resilience and adaptation.
Their pottery has been more than household utility. It has been a marker of identity, livelihood, and cultural continuity. Today, as modern vessels replace handmade earthen vessels, the Kumals find themselves preserving not only a profession but a heritage passed down through generations. According to an ancient belief, clay work began at the time of creation when Prajapati, the son of Brahma, molded the first earthen vessel using Sudarshan Chakra of Lord Vishnu. The Sanskrit term Kumbhakar, meaning pot maker, gradually transformed, becoming Kumhar and eventually Kumal. Even today, pottery remains spiritually and culturally significant for the community. In Kumal settlements, soil is not just the ground beneath their feet. It is raw material, cultural memory, and a symbol of survival. The Kumal population is spread mainly across central Tarai districts of Nepal, namely across Lumbini, Gandaki, and Bagmati provinces. Traditionally, they rely on two main occupations, agriculture and pottery. Farms provided daily sustenance, while pottery supported household needs and served as a source of income. Community life historically revolved around extended family systems, with shared labor, collective participation in rituals, and a strong sense of belonging to ancestral land. Pottery for the Kumals is a detailed, multi-stage skill passed down through generations. The process begins with identifying the right soil. Black clay, the Kalu Matu, was traditionally preferred for its strength and texture. It was collected near riverbanks, ponds, and settled waterbeds. Among Tharu Kumals, this clay is also known as Kamaune Matu, meaning clay that earns. Clay is soaked, softened, and thoroughly kneaded. Using a tool called pasur, potters slice and cleanse the clay to remove impurities. In earlier times, bamboo tools were used instead of iron. The prepared clay is stored covered, maintaining moisture for shaping. The chakra or potter's wheel remains central to Kumal identity. Hands center the clay, fingers guide it, and experience shapes it. Tools like thap and pitani help refine form and smooth surface. Large vessels, water jars, grand pots, cooking pots, and ritual vessels were once part of every Nepali household, each bearing the touch of Kumal craftsmanship. Freshly formed pots are cut from the wheel with thread or leaf strips and set to dry, first in shade to prevent cracks, then under the sun. A reddish clay called Kabish Matu is applied for finish and strength. The firing structure, Awa or Auri, is built from wood, straw, husk, and cow dung. Pots are stacked carefully, forming a dome-like structure covered with hay and soil. The firing process takes up to 3 days. The Kumals maintain rich intangible heritage through customs, rituals, music, and dance. The Keli dance is one of the most distinctive cultural expressions of the Kumals. Traditionally performed by men dressed as women, it is associated with community celebrations and spiritual belief.
Kalas
the performance concludes with blessings for the household hosting the event. Marriage traditionally takes place within the community, though intercaste marriage, particularly with Magar communities, has become common. Samdi fight is also popular in this culture, where fathers of bride and groom go through a physical battle as a part of entertainment. A child's naming ceremony called Nwaran takes place on the 9th day for daughters and 11th day for sons, where a young unmarried girl narrates the name referred by the priest. Gon Ponni, a ritual where the mother burns bedding used during childbirth, is followed by baths. The child is then named and welcomed.
बोलाउने नाम आशिष कुमाल, देवताको नाम गोविन्द कुमाल, मेरो नाम सन्तोष कुमाल.
Grandmothers carry babies around the home, chasing the newborn with a catapult, symbolically granting strength and sealing belonging. That rites emphasize purity, remembrance, and respect. The eldest son of the one performing final rites, often standing inside a fishing net, performs final rites reflecting links to water-based livelihood and spiritual symbolism. Among the many Kumal rituals, ancestral worship, Kul Puja is considered the most important. It is performed in remembrance of those deceased in the family and is also known as Pitri Puja. The Kul Puja honors ancestors annually, while the worship of Singh Devta, urn-shaped forest deities, highlights ties to nature and livestock protection. The Kumal people speak their own indigenous language, Kumal, which belongs to the Tibeto-Burman family. However, due to increasing influence of Nepali language and modernization, the use of Kumal language has been declining, and community efforts continue to revive it through cultural programs and schools. Most Kumals practice Hinduism, worshipping deities such as Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and local protective gods and goddesses. Ancestral worship and belief in nature spirits hold deep cultural importance. Traditional attire for men includes white clothing and the dhaka topi, while women wear black blouses, traditional skirts, and red shawls, often adorned with local jewelry. With industrial materials such as aluminum, steel, and plastic replacing clay vessels, the demand for traditional pottery has sharply declined. Many Kumal families have moved to agriculture, labor, service work, or small businesses. Modern education and new employment opportunities are reshaping the choices of younger generations. Their hands do not merely shape clay, they sculpt culture, memory, and the foundation of Nepal's artistic soul. The Kumail community stands at a historic crossroads between tradition and modernity, memory and transition. Their identity is closely tied to clay, yet their future relies on adapting to changing socio-economic landscapes. Their story is not only about pottery, but resilience of a people who shaped Nepal's cultural foundation long before industry and technology. The preservation of Kumail heritage is not a matter of nostalgia. It is a recognition of indigenous knowledge, cultural diversity, and history shaped by hands that turn earth into life. If the story of Nepal is one of civilizations formed by soil and river, then the Kumail legacy will always remain at its foundation.
Nepal marks 76th Democracy Day, reflecting on historical struggles for freedom, good governance and unity. Acting Chief Election Commissioner urges media to avoid opinion polls during the election period. The MLNRSP released election manifestos focus on governance, development and systemic reforms ahead of House elections. Gas explosion in Karachi apartments in Pakistan kills at least 16 people, injures several others. From drumsticks to parliament, Sanei Takaichi secures historic supermajority to lead Japan's nationalist shift. And ICC T20 World Cup Super 8 match schedule announced, New Zealand to face Pakistan in the opening clash. Hello there, I'm Shivani Thapa-Bosnet and this is NTV World News Hour. Now the news in detail. Today Nepal celebrates National Democracy Day, observed annually on Fagun 7th as per the Nepali calendar, to honor the 1950 revolution that ended the Rana autocracy and established the foundation for the country's Federal Democratic Republic. The main ceremony took place at the Nepal Army Pavilion in Turikale of the federal capital Kathmandu, with President Ramchandra Paudel, Vice President Ram Sahai Prasad Yadav, Prime Minister Sushila Karki and other officials in attendance. Prime Minister Karki highlighted that the 2007 Bikram Sambat revolution represented the empowerment of Nepali citizens and stressed that democracy is both a form of governance and a symbol of people's rights and aspirations. The day also pays tribute to the sacrifices of martyrs and Nepal's ongoing pursuit of justice and equality. Acting Chief Election Commissioner Ram Prasad Bhandari has urged media organizations to avoid conducting or publishing opinion polls during the election period, warning that violations of election laws will be penalized. Speaking at a program marking the 10th election day today, Bhandari highlighted the risks of misinformation and urged voters to make independent choices free from pressure or influence. The Election Commissioner added that the Election Commission is preparing meetings to finalize election security policies, while district officials, election staff and security personnel have been instructed to enforce the code of conduct and remain vigilant. Ahead of the upcoming House of Representatives elections in Nepal, the major political parties have released their manifestos with detailed policy outlines. Communist Party of Nepal, YML, led by Chairman KP Sharma Oli, presented its Country First vision, emphasizing good governance, development, employment and social justice, along with 11 immediate tasks, 5 core objectives and 25 resolutions under the slogan Prosperous Nepal, Happy Nepali. Similarly, Rashtriya Swatantra Party unveiled its Commitment Letter 2082 in Surkhet, proposing wide-ranging reforms in governance, economy, education and diplomacy, including constitutional amendments, non-partisan local governments and asset investigations of public officials. In the international headliners, a gas explosion ripped through an apartment building in Karachi of Pakistan, killing at least 16 people, including women and children, and injuring several others. The officials there have confirmed. The blast struck a residential neighborhood in the early hours as residents prepared a pre-dawn meal on the first day of Ramadan, causing part of the building to collapse. Rescue teams continue to remove rubble in search of survivors, with operations still ongoing. Authorities have warned residents to remain cautious as investigations into the cause proceed. Sanai Takaichi, the 64-year-old former news anchor and heavy metal drummer, has secured a historic two-thirds supermajority in Japan's parliament, positioning her to lead a nationalist Japan First agenda. Known for her media-savvy approach and admiration of Margaret Thatcher, Takaichi leveraged her public profile to bypass traditional political gatekeepers and connect directly with voters. Her platform emphasizes a peace through strength strategy, a tough stance on immigration, and a more assertive foreign policy, drawing praise from Washington but ire from Beijing over Taiwan. From the newsroom to the drum kit, Takaichi now commands Japan's government, signaling a bold shift in the country's domestic and international direction. The schedule for the Super 8 stage of the ICC T20 World Cup has been officially released, with exciting matchups set to take place from February 21 to March 1 across various cities in India and in Sri Lanka. The opening match will see New Zealand take on Pakistan in Colombo on February 21st, followed by a clash between Sri Lanka and England in Kandy, and India facing South Africa in Ahmedabad on the second day. Other key matches include Zimbabwe versus West Indies in Mumbai, and later games such as England versus Pakistan, Sri Lanka and New Zealand, and India and Zimbabwe across venues like Kandy, Colombo, Ahmedabad and Chennai. On 27th of February, England and New Zealand will meet in Colombo, and Sri Lanka will face Pakistan in Kandy the following day. The Super 8 stage will culminate on March 1 with Zimbabwe facing South Africa in Delhi and India taking on the West Indies in Kolkata. The semi-finals will be held on March 4th and 5th, with the grand final scheduled for March 8. A landslide for Sanai Takaichi signals a sharp nationalist turn in Japan and a moment to reckoning for its 4 million immigrants. As the Nepali diaspora reaches record highs, Sarah Sapsandama Rai examines the new Japan First mandate, reshaping borders and the community powering the economy. After this break. With the NTV World News Hour, and I'm Shivani Thapa-Bosnet, we would be looking into the issue of the day now. A landslide victory for Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi marks a nationalist pivot for Japan's around 4 million immigrant population. As the Nepali diaspora hits record numbers, it faces a new era of immigration caps and tighter vetting, mirroring a global shift towards harder borders. Sarah Sapsana-Marai examines the Japan First mandate and the community keeping the economy afloat.
高市早苗君を本院において内閣総理大臣に指名することに決まりました。
February 2026, a political shift has fundamentally realigned Japan's domestic and foreign landscape. Following a landslide re-election, Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi's Japan First agenda is no longer just a rhetoric. It is a governing mandate. For the country's record 4.1 million immigrants, this victory signals a transition from an era of quiet acceptance to one of rigorous management. Nowhere is this tension more visible than in the Nepali community. Now little over 273,000 strong and growing by 17% annually, Nepalese have become the 5th largest foreign nationality in Japan, an indispensable pillar of the nation's labor force.
The domestic debate on strict immigration rules and foreign policies getting changed under Sanai Takaichi's government is directly going to affect the Nepalese diaspora living in Japan in terms of visa, residential policies, integration and so on. Labor immigrants are getting reduced. Maybe student visas are going to get denied, and there are certain other criteria to be fulfilled, and it has huge impact on our remittance as well.
The Takaichi administration is moving in lockstep with a global wave of exclusionary nationalism mirroring the crackdown policies seen in the United States. In the halls of the Diet, the debate has shifted toward a historic proposal, a permanent numerical cap on immigrants. For thousands of Nepali students who use language schools as a gateway to the workforce, the window is narrowing. Takaichi's security-first foreign policy has introduced unprecedented vetting, higher immigration fees, and a zero illegal resident plan that treats visa overstays with administrative aggression.
अहिले चाहिँ प्रत्येक महिना जस्तो 10 देखि 15 जना नेपालीहरूलाई चाहिँ विभिन्न कारण देखाउँदै अहिले भिसा नदिने अथवा छोटो भिसामा चाहिँ परिणत गर्ने र यसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ नियम कानुन पालना गर्नका निम्ति बाध्य बनाउने र नेशनल फर्स्टको नियममा चाहिँ विदेशीहरूलाई जुन बाँध्ने खालको जुन यिनीहरूले जुन नियम लिएको छ यसले हामी नेपालीहरूलाई चाहिँ स्वाभाविक रूपमा प्रभावित बनाएको छ.
This political hardening creates a stark paradox. As Japan faces an unprecedented demographic decline, its economy has never been more dependent on foreign hands. From the 24-hour convenience stores to the elder care facilities in rural prefectures, Nepali workers are the invisible backbone of daily life. Yet, the social climate is growing colder.
जापानमा विभिन्न देशबाट नेपाल लगायत विभिन्न देशबाट पैसाहरू महँगो पैसा तिरेर जापानमा चाहिँ उज्जवल भविष्यको खोजीमा आइरहेको छ र विभिन्न उद्योगहरुमा व्यवसायहरुमा चाहिँ इन्भल्भ भएको मान्छेहरुलाई चाहिँ विदेश जापानको विदेश मन्त्रालयको नीतिले चाहिँ कतिपय व्यवसायहरु बन्द हुने अवस्था रहेको र कामदारहरु पनि आफ्नो देशमा फर्किने पर्ने अवस्था रहेको छ र.
As Takaichi prepares to outline her population strategy for 2027, the Nepali community remains in a state of watchful resilience. The question remains, can Japan maintain its global economic standing while systematically capping the very people who sustain it? For around 273,000 Nepalese, the Japanese dream is now a calculation of political risk versus economic necessity. Sarah Samsonama for NTV World, Kathmandu.
She dominated the airwaves as a primetime news anchor and the stage as a heavy metal drummer. Now Sanai Takaichi is marching Japan toward a new nationalist era. We profile the Japanese Iron Lady, whose historic landslide has given her the mandate to redefine Japan's borders and its global voice. Sarah Sapsana-Marai looks into this interesting journey of a drummer turned Prime Minister of Japan.
She's not just breaking glass ceilings, she's breaking drumsticks. Meet Sanae Takaichi, the 64-year-old heavy metal drummer who drummed her way to a historic 2/3 supermajority in Japan's parliament. But Takaichi's comfort in front of the camera is not new. Long before her rise in the LDP, Takaichi was a household name as a television journalist and news anchor. That media-savvy background has become her greatest weapon, allowing her to bypass traditional political gatekeepers and speak directly to a new generation of Japanese voters. A self-proclaimed admirer of the Iron Lady, Margaret Thatcher, Takaichi has officially been dubbed Japan's own. After a high-stakes snap election gamble that delivered an unprecedented 316 seats, Takaichi is taking the reins of a nation of 123 million with a mandate for a radical Japan-first shift. Takaichi's Peace Through Strength agenda has already won a digital thumbs up from Donald Trump, who is set to host her in Washington next month. But while the US cheers, Beijing is fuming over her stance on Taiwan Island. Takaichi is signaling that the era of Japanese quiet diplomacy is over. As she puts it, no one helps a nation that will not defend itself. Yet Takaichi remains a political enigma. The former TV star is an ultra-conservative strategist who jams to K-pop with world leaders and carries handbags that go viral among the youth. Takaichi refuses to frame her leadership around gender, focusing instead on a tough-on-immigration stance that includes a proposed hard cap on foreign residents, a move mirroring the global shift toward border crackdowns. From the newsroom to the mosh pit, and now to the highest office in the land, Sanae Takaichi is the new conductor of Japan's future. The world is watching. The volume is up, and for the Japanese Iron Lady, the real concert has just begun.
From Turikale's Democracy Day celebrations to a nationwide call for unity ahead of March 5, leaders urge a shift from subjects to general public. That's our cover story tonight, and that's when we return. Yet again, we head straight into our cover story. The 76th Democracy Day celebrations in Nepal reverberated the call for good governance and fair elections. The regular Democracy Day function at the Nepal Army Pavilion in Turikale saw speakers emphasizing the shift from subjects to the members of the public as the cornerstone of contemporary governance. President Ramchandra Paudel and Prime Minister Sushila Karki both voiced a strong plea for national unity to ensure the success of the March 5 elections. Sabika Shrestha brings us more.
Nepal vibrantly celebrated its 76th National Democracy Day Thursday, honoring the historic 1951 revolution that ended a century of autocratic Rana autocracy. The festivities culminated in a grand ceremony at the Army Pavilion, Turikale, where the nation's leadership reflected on the journey from subjects to citizens as the country looks forward to the upcoming House of Representatives election. The main ceremony featured a distinguished assembly including President Ramchandra Paudel, Vice President Ram Sahib Prasad Yadav and Prime Minister Sushila Karki. In his keynote address, President Ramchandra Paudel emphasized that democracy is the bedrock of Nepal's sovereignty. Prime Minister Sushila Karki, the first woman to lead the country, delivered a poignant speech linking the ideals of 1951 to the modern aspirations of the youth.
प्रत्येक शासकले ख्याल राख्नु हाम्रा युवा अभाव सहन तयार छन् तर अन्याय अपमान विभेद र तिरस्कार सहन तयार छैनन्। भोलि आउने शासकहरूले युवालाई अपमान र तिरस्कार गरिरहने भने फेरि पनि विद्रोह हुनेछ। नेपालको निर्वाचन इतिहासमा विषममा 2015 साल फागुन 7 गतेदेखि पहिलो प्रजातान्त्रिक निर्वाचन सुरुवात भएको ऐतिहासिक तथ्य हामीमा छ। तसर्थ आज प्रजातन्त्र दिवस मात्र होइन, निर्वाचन पनि हो, दिवस पनि हो। संयोगवश यस वर्ष पनि यसै फागुन महिनाको 21 गते प्रतिनिधि सभा सदस्य निर्वाचन हुन गइरहेको छ। यस निर्वाचनलाई स्वच्छ, निष्पक्ष, शान्तिपूर्ण र भयमुक्त वातावरणमा सम्पन्न गरी मुलुकलाई दिगो लोकतान्त्रिक स्थायित्वको नयाँ युगको ढोका उगार्ने प्रयत्नमा हामीले पुरै ऊर्जा लगाएका छौं।
The event showcased the nation's cultural and security prowess with march past by the Nepali Army, Nepal Police and Armed Police Force alongside vibrant cultural tableaus from the municipalities of the Kathmandu Valley. As the nation observes the dual significance of National Democracy Day and its democratic foundations, the proceedings at Turikhel underscored a definitive mandate. The legacy of the 1951-2007 BS revolution is preserved not merely through ceremonial observance, but through a steadfast commitment to a transparent and inclusive democratic framework. Savika Shrestha reporting for NTV World.
Marking the 76th Democracy Day, we asked the members of the public about their thoughts on Democracy Day. Here's what they had to say.
फागुन 7 गते धाणाहरूको मुठ्ठीबाट जनताले, प्रत्येक नेपाली जनताले आफ्नो अधिकार पाएको दिनको रूपमा यो फागुन 7 प्रजातन्त्र दिवसको रूपमा म बुझ्छु।
लोकतन्त्र, सामाजिक न्याय लगायत जति पनि समानताका लागि महान शहीदहरूले आफ्नो आहुति दिनुभएको छ, उहाँहरूप्रति म हार्दिक श्रद्धासुमन व्यक्त गर्न चाहन्छु।
104 वर्षीय जहानिया राणा शासनलाई परास्त गरेर नेपालीहरूले आफ्नो अधिकार, आफ्नो हक अधिकार सुनिश्चित गरेको दिन हो।
बोल्ने अधिकार अनि बोल्ने अधिकार सहित हरेक आफ्नो हिसाबले जीवन यापन गर्नलाई पाइरहेको महसुस गरिरहेका छौँ।
एउटा परिवारमा सीमित भएको शासनलाई चाहिँ जनतामाझ ल्याउनु ठुलो योगदान हो यो प्रजातन्त्र दिवस।
राणा शासन तथा राजा शाहवंशद्वारा मात्रै आधारभूत शिक्षाहरू र स्वास्थ्य सुविधाहरू लिइरहेको अवस्थामा नेपाली जनताहरूको उत्पीडन र पीडाहरू खप्न नसकेर जनताहरूले चाहिँ आफ्नो स्वतन्त्रताको लागि ल्याएको तन्त्र नै प्रजातन्त्र हो र यो प्रजातन्त्र चाहिँ हाम्रो स्वतन्त्रताको एउटा सुरुवात जस्तो मान्न सकिन्छ।
अब प्रजातन्त्र दिवस भन्दाखेरि हामीले शहीदहरूको जुन बलिदानलाई सम्झिन्छौँ। 104 वर्षको जुन राणाको शासन चलिरहेको थियो त्यो समाप्त भयो। यो दिन भन्दाखेरि हामीले स्वतन्त्रता, अधिकार अनि जनताको जुन शासन हुन्छ त्यो कुरालाई सम्झिन्छौँ।
यसले चाहिँ लोकतन्त्रको एउटा जबको रूपमा नि एज अ रोल चाहिँ इम्पोर्टेन्ट रोल खेलेको थियो।
पहिला चाहिँ धेरै हामीलाई चाहिँ स्वतन्त्र हुन पाउँदैन थियो, हामी अरूले जे भन्यो त्यही मान्नु पर्थ्यो भने अहिले चाहिँ हामी स्वतन्त्र भएर खुल्ला भएर बाँच्न पाएका छौँ।
देशमा भएका जति पनि जनताहरू छ उहाँहरू चाहिँ एकदम फ्री भएर फ्रिडम भएर चाहिँ आफ्नो तरिकाले बाँच्न सक्नु भएको छ। यो नै मलाई चाहिँ प्रजातन्त्र दिवसको चाहिँ महत्त्व हो जस्तो लाग्छ।
अनि प्रजातन्त्र भनेको चाहिँ राणा शासन अन्तिम गरेको अनि यसको चाहिँ निकै महत्त्व भएर चाहिँ प्रजातन्त्र फागुन 7 गते भरोसँग मनाइन्छ।
On to the rest of the top stories in the National Front now. Communist Party of Nepal, that's the UML, has officially released its manifesto for the upcoming House of Representatives elections, with Chairman KP Sharma Oli outlining the party's vision at the Country First debate program. The manifesto prioritizes good governance, development, employment and social justice, areas that the party believes were left incomplete during its previous time in power. With the slogan, "Prosperous Nepal, Happy Nepali, National Aspirations are our destination," quote-unquote, the UML aims for a victory to carry forward these unfinished tasks. The manifesto includes 11 immediate tasks, 5 core objectives, and 25 resolutions. Oli reaffirmed the UML's commitment to national sovereignty and independence, emphasizing a pragmatic approach without resorting to populism. Rashtriya Swatantra Party has also unveiled its election manifesto titled Commitment Letter 2082 ahead of the upcoming House of Representatives elections. The manifesto was made at a public gathering in Surkhet of Karnali province. The party has outlined wide-ranging policy changes covering state restructuring, the economy, digital transformation, energy, education, health, diplomacy and governance. It also lists what it calls 100 foundations for policy departure, aimed at systemic reform. The party has pledged full implementation of an investigative report related to the Gen Z movement held in the late September of 2025. Among key proposals are initiating a national debate on constitutional amendments, including a directly elected executive system, a fully proportional parliamentary model, barring lawmakers from serving as ministers and establishing non-partisan local governments. The manifesto also promises asset investigations of public officials, confiscation of illegal wealth, and reforms to depoliticize the civil service. 7 election police officers were injured in a van accident in Jumla district of Nepal when their vehicle with registration number 1J818 collided head-on while travelling from Jumla Bazar to Nagam. The incident occurred in Tatopani Rural Municipality, Ward number 6, Dhaulapani. All 7 officers were rushed to the Karnali Institute of Health Sciences for treatment. According to Robin Babu Regmi, chief of the district headquarters office in Jumla, 2 of the injured officers are in serious condition. Authorities are investigating the cause of the accident. In a major boost to the energy infrastructure of Nepal's western hills, the Tamghas Burtibang 132 kilovolt double circuit transmission line has officially come into operation. This 5 billion rupee project aims to stabilize the power grid across Gulmi and Baglung districts, promising an end to chronic low voltage issues. The connection to the national power grid is also expected to provide a reliable energy backbone for both local households and emerging industries.
Burtibang 132 kilovolt double circuit transmission line has officially come into operation. Electricity service has now been extended to 61,000 households in Gulmi district. Following 2 days of successful technical testing, regular power transmission has commenced, which is expected to significantly strengthen rural electrification in Gulmi and Baglung districts. Nepal Electricity Authority (NEA) developed this project to integrate Gulmi and Baglung more robustly into the national grid. This section is a vital part of the larger Burtibang Paudi Amrai Tamghas Sandhi Kharkha Guru Singhe 132 kilovolt transmission line project, according to Project Chief Engineer Manoj Prasad Chaudhary. Now that the line is fully operational, electricity supply in these districts will become more reliable, consistent, and of higher quality.
5वटा सब स्टेशनमा 132 बाइ 33 बाइ 11 हैन अनि यसमा चाहिँ भन्दाखेरि सबै ठाउँमा हाम्रो 30 बाइ 16 MVA को ट्रान्सफर्मर रहेको छ.
NEA Executive Director Hitendra Dev Shakir recently inspected key facilities including the Tamghas substation in Resunga 7, the Paudi Amrai substation in Musikot and the Burtibang substation in Dhorpatan 2.
उद्योगधन्दाहरुलाई व्यवसायहरुलाई भरपर्दो विद्युत र गुणस्तरीय विद्युत प्राप्त भएपछि बिस्तारै उद्योगधन्दा फस्टाउँदैछ.
Under this comprehensive project, 5 substations have been constructed, spanning from Motipur in Kapilvastu through Arkakhachi and Gulmi to Burtibang in Baglung. Previously, supplying electricity over long distances in these hilly regions led to frequent voltage drops, systems overloads, and recurring outages. With the establishment of these localized substations, such technical issues are expected to be minimized. Constructed at an estimated cost of approximately $34.37 million, the operation of this 132 kilovolt double circuit line is a milestone in improving the energy landscape of Nepal's western hilly districts.
And that was a news report by Suveksha Rajak along with local correspondent Anil Khatri and on rural electrification drive. Further, cardamom worth approximately $59.18 million has been exported through the Mechi Customs Office in eastern Nepal by the month of mid-February. This amount is higher than the total exports of the entire previous fiscal year. With approximately $9.76 million worth of cardamom exported in the month of mid-February alone, cardamom exports this year have increased by nearly 60% compared to the same period last year. According to the Mechi Customs Office, only around 3,022 metric tons of cardamom worth about $36.98 million had been exported by the month of Magh or mid-February in the last fiscal year. This year, 4,153 metric tons of cardamom worth approximately $59.18 million has been exported. Traders in the Birta Mode area who are involved in the buying and selling of cardamom stated that since the price of cardamom reached up to $1,718.25 per 0.1 metric tons this year, the cardamom purchased from farmers is being exported immediately without keeping it in stock. Cardamom produced in most districts of eastern Nepal is usually collected and traded in Burtamol of Jhapa. International news coming up next. For now, a quick recap of the top stories of the hour. Nepal marks 76th Democracy Day, reflecting on historical struggles for freedom, good governance and unity ahead of March elections. Acting Chief Election Commissioner of Nepal urges media to avoid opinion polls during election period. UML and RSP release election manifestos focus on governance, development and systemic reforms. Gas explosion in apartments in Karachi of Pakistan kills at least 16 people, several others injured. From drumsticks to parliament, Sanai Takachi secures historic supermajority to lead Japan's nationalist shift. And ICC T20 World Cup Super 8 match schedule announced, New Zealand to face Pakistan in the opening clash. Former South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol was sentenced to life in prison today for leading a brief illegal insurrection through the imposition of martial law in December of 2024. Judge Ji Kyu-yoon said he found Yoon guilty of rebellion for mobilizing military and police forces in an illegal attempt to seize the Liberal-led National Assembly, arrest politicians and establish unchecked power for a considerable time. A special prosecutor had demanded the death penalty for Yoon, saying his actions posed a threat to the country's democracy and deserved the most serious punishment available. The verdict comes after Yoon was formally removed from office in April 2025 following his impeachment and a subsequent arrest last July. The court also handed down significant sentences to Yoon's key collaborators, including 23 years of former Prime Minister Han Duck-soo and a 30-year jail term for ex-Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun for their roles in orchestrating the decree. Throughout the trial, Yoon defended his actions as a necessary defense against anti-state forces, and he is expected to appeal the ruling. Outside the judicial complex, the sentencing sparked intense reactions as rival groups of supporters and critics rallied amid a heavy police presence. Britain's former Prince Andrew was arrested today on suspicion of misconduct during his time as a trade envoy, as UK police investigations into allegations emerging from the Jeffrey Epstein files gathered pace. Andrew was last year stripped of all his titles, having been forced out of his former home by his brother, King Charles III. As part of the investigation into Andrew, Thames Valley Police said in a statement that they had arrested a man in his 60s from Norfolk on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Several UK media reported a fleet of unmarked cars, believed to be police vehicles, were seen arriving early Thursday at the Sandringham estate in eastern England, where Andrew now resides. New revelations last week appeared to show Andrew sent convicted US sex offender Epstein potentially confidential documents during his time as a UK trade envoy. US President Donald Trump gathered approximately 24 world leaders in Washington today to inaugurate the Board of Peace, a new institution focused on Gaza and broader global ambitions. The summit follows a US-brokered ceasefire negotiated alongside Qatar and Egypt. Current efforts have transitioned into a second phase centered on disarming Hamas, even as Gaza's health ministry reports at least 601 deaths since the truce began. Trump is expected to detail over $5 billion in pledges for Gaza's reconstruction, even for suggesting the development of future resorts amidst the rubble. One of the objectives of the meeting is the launch of an international stabilization force, with Indonesia offering to contribute up to 8,000 troops for security. The board will operate out of the former U.S. Institute of Peace building, which was rebranded after Trump dismissed the original staff. Under the Board of Peace's unique terms, Trump retains permanent veto power and leadership even after his presidency, and nations seeking permanent membership must pay a $1 billion fee. Since President Trump launched his Board of Peace at the World Economic Forum in Davos in January, at least 19 countries have signed its founding charter. The Vatican, meanwhile, said it will not participate in U.S. President Donald Trump's Board of Peace, its Secretary of State has said on Tuesday. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg testified under oath Wednesday in the high-stakes social media addiction trial, expressing regret over the company's slow progress in identifying underage users on Instagram while defending its safety record. Zuckerberg faced intense questioning regarding accusations that Meta and Google's YouTube deliberately engineered their platforms to hook children, contributing to a mental health crisis among the youth. During his testimony, Zuckerberg suggested that the burden of age verification should shift to Apple and Google at the smartphone level rather than being managed by individual apps. The trial centers on Callie GM, a 20-year-old California woman who alleges that her compulsive use of social media starting at an age of 6 led to mental health problems. This case is expected to set the legal standard for thousands of similar lawsuits filed by families and school districts nationwide. While TikTok and Snapchat were also named in the original complaint, both platforms reached confidential settlements before the trial began. U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright has renewed his threat to pull out of the International Energy Agency, saying Washington would press the organization to abandon a net zero agenda in the next year or so. Speaking on the last day of the IEA ministerial meeting in Paris, Wright said the 52-year-old agency should return its founding mission of ensuring energy security. The IEA was created to coordinate responses to major disruptions of supplies after the 1973 oil crisis. But Wright complained that it has adopted a climate agenda that includes the goal of reaching a net zero emission by 2050.
Nations are free to engage in any agenda they want, but the energy agency founded for energy security needs to focus on energy security and not energy impoverishment. If we can achieve that goal, and I think we have a reasonable chance of achieving that goal, it'll be a very proud achievement. We will remain a proud and original founding member of the IEA. But if the IEA is not able to bring itself back to focusing on the mission of energy honesty, energy access, and energy security, then sadly we would become an ex-member of the IEA.
French President Emmanuel Macron told a global artificial intelligence summit in India today he was determined to ensure safe oversight of the fast-evolving technology. The European Union has led the way for global regulation with its Artificial Intelligence Act, which was adopted in 2024 and is coming into force in phases.
France, we are doubling the number of AI scientists and engineers trained, and we've now more than 1,100 AI startups thriving in France, creating dozens of thousands of jobs. Opposite to what some misinformed friends have been saying, Europe is not blindly focused on regulation. Europe is a space for innovation and investment, but it is a safe space.
Business News is coming up next. For now, a very short break.
As the first global AI meeting held in a developing country, the 5-day AI Summit in India, which wraps up Friday, has also been a chance for India to boost its position in the booming sector. The nation expects more than $200 billion in investments over the next 2 years, and US tech titans have unveiled new deals, investments, and infrastructure for the South Asian country this week. In a major move, OpenAI and India IT giant Tata Consultancy Services announced a partnership to develop hyperscale AI data centers within the country. India's Reliance Group also announced a $110 billion investment over the next 7 years. Google on Wednesday had also opened up about its plans for subsea cables to support its existing $15 billion infrastructure investment in the region. Amidst this commercial surge, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called for a $3 billion global fund support from the tech typhoons to ensure open access to fast advancing technology for all. Drone Shield, a Sydney-based defense firm originally envisioned as a high-tech mosquito swatter, has seen its valuation skyrocket to $2.13 billion as its technology helps Ukrainian soldiers combat Russian drones. The company's specialized drone gun utilizes concentrated radio wave energy to simultaneously disrupt the navigation and video feeds of multiple enemy UAVs. According to CEO Oleg Vornik, this interference forces the targeted drones to lose their orientation, resulting in an immediate crash or landing. While the firm's shares have surged over 300% in the past year, the rapid growth has sparked a debate among market analysts.
And now the sporting updates. In the second National Women's and Men's Hockey Tournament 2082, Gandaki Province claimed victory in the women's category, while Koshi Province dominated the men's matches. On the fourth day at the Dasrat Stadium in Kathmandu, Gandaki defeated Koshi 4-0 in the women's match, and Madhya Province edged Bagmati 1-0. In the men's category, Koshi Province secured a commanding 7-0 win over Bagmati. The tournament, organized by the Nepal Hockey Association, will continue until coming Saturday. We now head on to the weather updates, first from across Nepal and then the world. And before winding up, a quick look at the headlines. Nepal marks 76th Democracy Day, reflecting on historical struggles for freedom, good governance and unity ahead of March elections. Acting Chief Election Commissioner urges media to avoid opinion polls during election period. UML and RSP release election manifestos focus on governance, development and systemic reforms. Gas explosion in apartments in Karachi of Pakistan kills at least 16, injures several others. From drumsticks to parliament, Sanai Takahashi secures historic supermajority to lead Japan's nationalist shift. And ICC T20 World Cup Super 8 match schedule announced. New Zealand to face Pakistan in the opening clash. And that's it from News Hour. Do stay tuned and do join us through our social media handles. Also visit our official website, nepaltelevision.com. I'm Shivani Thapa-Bosnet with you. Do have a wonderful evening ahead.
Actually, when I was 16, back in 2015, I was at a music festival. This music is called bluegrass that I play, and I was at this bluegrass festival, and this person named Tara Linhart. She is amazing. You can talk to her more, but she had a fantastic project called the Mountain Music Project. And I heard this project of Nepali musicians and bluegrass musicians coming together and fusing the music. And I thought it was really, really cool to see this cross-cultural collaboration. But I really just wanted to get back to music. And so I reached out to Tara. I had an opportunity to get some funding. And I emailed her randomly. She was in Bhutan at the time. And I said, hey, I want to set up a music project in Nepal. Can you connect me with some of your buddies? And she got on a WhatsApp call and started giving me the lowdown of how awesome it was. One of the people she introduced me to was actually Prince's father, Sham Nepali. And we met in New Hampshire. And we jammed together and had a great time. And he said, oh, when you get to Nepal, you have to meet my son. He's so great. He'll play music. You'll play music together. I was like, yeah, whatever. Okay. Like, every dad is going to say that about their son. Like, is it going to be great? Well, then 3 months later, I showed up in Nepal. And I had only brought a mandolin. And I wanted a guitar to write some songs on. So I called up Shamdai and I said, hey, can I borrow a guitar? He said, yes, come meet my son. And so I met Prince in Kirtipur, and we started playing that day. And then we sat down and we started playing, and it was just like magic. It was just sort of this instant connection. That was pretty special and crazy to me that we grew up on opposite sides of the world, and there are American musicians who I don't vibe with. We don't have a connection. But me and Prince, it was just an instant connection. And so we started jamming together.
It's a love song that my great-grandfather composed. And we're going to fuse with another bluegrass love song. सानी सानी ए झिल्के नानी कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी सानी सानी ए झिल्के नानी कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी हाय हाय कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी चस्मे दाजु झिल्के मिल्के जुल्फी मात्र कोर्ने चस्मे दाजु झिल्के मिल्के जुल्फी मात्र कोर्ने दारी जुङ्गा दन्त देखाई मेरो मन चोर्ने दारी जुङ्गा दन्त देखाई मेरो मन चोर्ने नजिस्काउन हे परुलाई हाय शिवर काकी छोरीलाई नजिस्काउन हे परुलाई हाय शिवर काकी छोरीलाई सानी सानी ए झिल्के नानी कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी हाय हाय कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी जन्म दिने भगवान त हुर्काइदिने आमा जन्म दिने भगवान त हुर्काइदिने आमा कसले हेर यति राम्रो पहिराइदियो जमा कसले हेर यति राम्रो पहिराइदियो जमा सानी सानी ए झिल्के नानी कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी सानी सानी ए झिल्के नानी कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी हाय हाय कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी हाय हाय कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी हाय हाय कति राम्रो कपाल
She was living in a lonely cabin with a son by another man. 5 years she had waited for him as long as a woman can, as long as a woman can.
what changed my mind. Felt that I was a rambling kind of love I can't explain that I had for Nellie Kane. She hired me at work that day to help her till the lands. In the afternoon we planted seeds, in the evening we held hands. In the evening we held hands. And her blue eyes told me everything that a man could want to know. It was then I realized I would never go, I would never go. And I don't know what changed my mind. Till then I was a rambling kind of love I can't explain that I had for Nellie Kane. We've grown up tall. I became a father to him, and she became my all. She became my all. And I don't know what changed my mind. Till then I was a rambling kind of love I can't explain that I had for Nellie Kane. No, I don't know what changed my mind. Till then I was a rambling kind of love I can't explain that I had for Nellie Kane.
Well, first of all, I just fell in love with Nepali culture. I love momos, I love dal bhat, I love it all. I love this beautiful country. I think our message to one of them is